Just this Thursday, my thoughts are with the school-going children who are bound to lose learning time and when the game is over, rushed through the same. Nini? Mvua? Ah, okay. Sawa. He was the one taking the photo. He
was the one taking the photo.
Okay. Sawa,
the
guys.
gentleman only doesn't know. There were no selfies in those days.
So those cameras that you place there and then you run
come
back,
and sit.
take your position.
That's how we took many family photos.
That particular photo, linesman.
Yeah, it was taken by the
The
linesman.
linesman taking the picture.
Biggest picture.
Okay. To make one, everybody's complaining about YouTube banner. King Solomon says, Kwani, you fellows, what is happening on YouTube?
Allah.
Aya.
Hebu ingia YouTube.
Okay.
Ednah anaangalia maneno yenu, atawashughulikia. City.
Yes.
Proverb. Fourth proverb from Kenya.
The East African country of Kenya.
Kenya.
Okay. Crawling on hands and knees has never prevented anyone from walking upright.
At the same time?
This is a proverb.
Crawling on hands and knees has never prevented anyone from walking upright.
Not really.
Hiyo kitu iko na presumption mingi sana.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And it is good that it has presumptions.
Yeah. Surely.
Indeed, surely. Otherwise, surely.
Eish. So what are they telling us? Anyway, sawa. Crawling on hands and knees has never prevented anyone from what?
Walking
upright. Sawa. Let's look at the newspaper headlines.
Okay. On the front page of the Standard this morning, Ruto dilemma in handling Raila. That is splashed across the front page, and they're quite a thing. Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Arrest and prosecute or exile members of the president's party, say the opposition leader should be arrested and prosecuted for demonstrations, but his supporters say it is a right in the constitution. Ignore him is another option. Dialogue with him is yet another. Handshake and unity government is the fourth option being preferred. We'll look at that later. Supplies manager defends his 216 million property portfolio. That's another thing. Ugandan MPs toughen laws against gays. And we saw the uproar that brought yesterday. Interestingly enough as well, on the front page of the Standard, Linturi says try rice or potatoes instead of maize.
Kimeumana?
Kapilao hivi, chips, si lazima mkule ugali. Okay?
Pilau, umesema pilau.
Pilau,
Sawa.
I've decided. On the front page of The Nation, will Ruto, Raila agree to talks? That's the question. It's being called grandstanding. Rival camps urged to put the country first. MPs on collision course over plan to sell state firms without their nod. Okay, we'll look at that. The Unga subsidy, puzzle of missing documents. It goes on and on. We did see the sad story of this young Ivor Otieno who was killed in the United States, and more details are coming out as per what happened there. Very sad to have seen those videos. And we also did see yesterday, late in the day, that the president has decided to go ahead and appoint the CASs without Parliament debate approval.
It was all nonsense anyway.
They didn't need to do it anyway. They said they're not constitutionally bound to vet. So, okay.
What?
Move on.
They're not.
Yes, they're not.
Really?
It's a public office, not a state office.
So they're not allowed, eh?
No, they
not
can,
required.
but they're not required to vet.
I mean, if you start that, so where do you start? The next director is at the ministry level.
Yes.
Wasting Parliament's time.
And did we vet CSs?
Those ones are required
they were
to be
vetted.
vetted.
So
It's a
these
requirement
fellows
in
are
law.
their deputy, but they are not in the same category as the CS who are their deputies.
It has just been created, that
Was
position,
created.
remember?
The court just ruled that they can go ahead. Just the other day too.
I was here when the court ruled. I'm just seeking
The
clarification.
Katiba has not mentioned. The Katiba talks about vetting of state officers in the name of CS, in the name of PS, in the name of ambassadors, in the name of Chief Justice.
And the crafters of the Constitution did not see it fit to add and any other positions that may
they
in
should
the
have,
future,
yeah?
That may come at this point.
At this
Yes.
point or any other future.
But it's a waste of time.
Completely. They
It
were
would be
going to do it
it would
anyway.
be a waste of time. I am glad that this has happened. I still say the only thing, maybe you can just vet CSS, maybe. Just for, for people to get to know them. But Let the president appoint his team and let him move on. We judge him. Right now we're saying, wapi mahindi? It's the job.
Umeambia ukule nini?
Mchele. Kule mchele. Yeah. Let me tell you the headline. You had the Nation. Have you done the Nation headline?
Yes, I did.
Even the back page?
No, I didn't do the back.
Okay, do the back page.
The back page of the Nation. MPs on it was the headline. MPs on a collision course plan to sell state firms. So they're not really agreeing on what's going to happen with this privatization thing.
Right.
So that's it.
Okay. Headline in the Business Daily. CBK, that's the Central Bank of Kenya, whips banks to unlock dollars after Ruto warning. The central bank has spooked banks with a new foreign exchange code that comes with threats of punitive fines and license suspensions for offenders. On a day, President William Ruto warned traders hoarding dollars to expect losses in a few weeks. The dollar has been going into 145.
Yes,
my friend.
130.
Hold like this, it's coming. You're holding onto your dollar, you're waiting for it to go to 150.
Suddenly there were dollars in the market yesterday, isn't it? We'll look at that story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The Forex Code, among others, prohibits banks from engaging in trading practices, quoting prices, or making transactions with the intention of manipulating price movement or disrupting the functioning of the market. The banking regulator says the code, which comes into effect this morning, will ensure integrity and effective functioning of the Forex market in Kenya. Like that. 140,000 students miss loans as HELB runs out of cash.
Good Lord.
Yep. So, students in public universities and TVETs have missed state loans after the Higher Education Loans Board ran out of cash, setting them up for challenges raising alternative funds for tuition, accommodation and upkeep. The HELB told Parliament yesterday that the students will have to wait until the Treasury releases 5.7 billion shillings for onward disbursement to them. Majority of the loan applicants come from poor households and require financial support from HELB to pay for their tuition and upkeep. The HELB boss, Charles Ringera, said, "We have 140,000 students in TVETs and universities that we have not been able to fund to the tune of 5.7 B because we've run out of the budget that we had presented to the Treasury of 4.5 B. They had 4.5 B, now they require some more. The ticker headlines in the Business Daily. Why Kenya's maize import plan is facing headwinds, that's one. The privatization bill fight heads to the court because a senator has vowed to move to court, to challenge the push by President Ruto to sell parastatals without parliamentary approval. And then there's a billionaire businessman called Balubai Patel. He has bought an additional 14.6 million shares in Cooperative Bank. At the current market value, he has spent just a mere 181 million shillings.
No big.
He's entrenched his position as the lender's second largest individual investor. Balubai who? Balubai Patel. He's a big investor in the stock market. He's in business, he's in insurance, he's in real estate, he's everywhere. City?
Yes.
Fanya namna hiyo. The star.
Star.
Yes.
Top right-hand corner.
In pink.
In the color green tail.
Okay.
Fireworks. Showdown looms over Ruto plan to sell critical parastatals. But this headline is in direct contradiction to what was said.
Why?
Because the parastatals are slated to be sold according to what we've been told. The parastatals that are non-performing.
Yes.
Parastatals that are limping. Parastatals that aren't really, apart from just absorbing huge amounts of money, aren't doing very much. But now when you say critical, you are saying something completely opposite. Is it not so?
They're critical. The fact that they're not making money does not mean that they're not critical.
Actually, yes, it could. The reason why I'm saying this is, then if they're critical, then why sell them? What's the use? What is the purpose of selling them?
Those are the questions that Parliament would be asking.
Yes. So,
but
anyway.
now that,
and that's why Ruto does not want Parliament to
ask those questions.
Inconveniencing questions.
And time taking.
Rule of law. Rule of
law.
Precisely. Yes. We also the Star also has a story of the Kenyan migrant who was pinned to the floor before death.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a gentleman called Irivo Tieno. Then. This land issues never seem to come to an end, but then it's clearly tied into mental health. Couple murdered in suspected land tussle in Nyeri. Okay? Couple found dead in their home. Okay? Unga prices should drop in 10 days, Linturi tells MPs.
Unga, Ama rice.
But I thought there
Unga
was no
prices drop in 10 days, Linturi tells MPs.
The same Linturi who was saying try rice or potatoes instead of maize.
I'm reading headline.
Acha, you'll start with that story. And then we compare with all the other stories everywhere else.
Then, rivalry. States asked international community to sanction Raila. And then guess what Raila does? He also tells international community to sanction the president.
Ruto.
And his people. Yes. Ruto, Raila take bitter fights to world powers.
Do you see what Cyprian was saying now?
Yeah, but
so we are telling the international community to sanction.
As who?
See, as prefect.
Over a sovereign state.
As owner of the system.
The sovereignty of Kenya is in the lap of the international.
Daddy,
See what Nani did to me.
Now, clergy is a picture of the clergy and our friend, the Archbishop, and Anthony Muheria is there in the picture with other bishops. They are mounting pressure on Odinga, the president, for dialogue. And the church has stepped up.
Okay.
Hey, Mamboi. Aya, 27 minutes to 7. Let's take a quick break. How are the roads looking? Why, guy?
Wee.
Why,
How are the rivers looking on the roads?
Why? Okay, you tell us.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Life is filled with lots of things. Routine, monotony, same old, same old.
Boring.
But here's a question. How much of life is filled with life? Join me and my co-hosts CT Muga and Eric Latif on the Situation Room from 6 a.m. every weekday and find out how you can awaken your senses and fill your days with flavor and with Minute Maid filled with life.
I know the sun is out in Nairobi at least. As you tembea, be careful. Manchester United are trying to sign anyone. Watch out where your children are. Please hide yourselves.
Sugar and spice!
I reached a point where suicide things were just going south completely. Something stopped me. It's God now, my mom's prayer.
Join me, Yolanda Mulo, and DJ Absolute every single weekday from 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock.
And I think the accidents on Mombasa Road this morning have already gotten to 4 from what we're seeing here. It's packed, and unfortunately, people are getting into pools of water, which the depth they do not know. Right around Westlands, then coming in, going towards the expressway or out on Shiromo, there's a problem there, and so folks need to be very careful when entering into those pools. Folks are getting stuck, and there's causing a lot of traffic on Wayaki Way, then going out towards Huru Highway, right around that Westlands roundabout. It's also very busy on James Gishoro this morning. Survey is where traffic is. And I'm not talking about flowing. I'm talking about bumper to bumper already, well beyond Safari Park Hotel, inching closer and closer into the city. At some point, it will be at a standstill. So if you've not left, you might want to wait it out rather than add to the traffic, if you can hold on for that. The expressway exits are slowing down some this morning as well. Coming off Mombasa Road is looking like it's going to be a bit of a challenge, as well as the southern bypass for the first time in a while. Traffic is trying to get out towards Langata Road, and there's a chokehold right at the junction. Everywhere you look this morning, there's traffic. Please be careful, number 1. Number 2, if you don't need to be in it, don't get into it. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Talk to us there, and let's keep things moving this morning.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
Everybody who is going to a bus stop or a stage somewhere.
Yeah.
Because that heavy rain and then the status of the roads. So I passed by the Westlands. You see that area at the mall where there should be some bus stop, but there's no bus stop, but matatus have been allowed to stop there as the entrance to
and
the expressway.
On the side of the road and on the walkway.
Way. It is chaotic.
And it's muddy, you know.
Yes.
GM, this morning.
This is General Motors.
Yep.
General Motors Rivers.
This is just as you get onto now the footbridge.
Yeah.
So you cannot get onto the footbridge because the footbridge is a bridge in the middle of an ocean.
Right.
Yes.
And if getting on or getting off is a problem here. So there are folks who are seeking refuge from the rain under the coverage of the footbridge. So if you wanted to get off and then get into a vehicle, you will get into by the rivers of Babylon.
Wow.
Whether you want to get on or get off. This is it right here. Remember that thing we talked about it being a design flaw? In addition to that having been closed, this is
Now
what
this
you're
is what's
getting.
happening.
But consider, as we give a thought to children who live, let's start with the urban areas,
Yeah.
who live in the less advantaged areas where there's no tarmac and there's earth. It has rained. So you now have earth turned into mud. Yes, and they are walking to school. And some of those establishments, some of the houses that people live in, believe me, they are at ground level. So when it rains,
They are completely submerged.
exactly, the water is going to seep into those houses. Now you see the story of the water pan, the story of the dam, the story of preparedness. It is hitting us in the face.
This is really, really sad because if you actually talk about the way you're saying, children who are walking to school this morning, children who are going to school, okay, so many people would be listening and thinking, well, yeah, but kids are picked by a school bus. Not every child is picked by a school transport, right? There are very many children who walk, and in this kind of weather, so no proper pedestrian walkways, so children have to navigate in these muddy waters, vehicles passing, splashing water on them. It's just madness, and they're going to school, and they need to be in school in the next 20 minutes.
Yes.
It's just
And this is an
crazy.
urban area. Now, in most rural areas, the vast majority, children walk or run to school.
Yep.
Sure. And it's raining.
And it's raining, and it's heavy rain.
With rain, with wet clothes, in a class, and it's cold, the likelihood of disease creeping in is also very high.
Yeah. Why? Then the expressway. You know, the expressway is one long gutter collecting rainwater
And then
dumping
Dropping
it down. Hey, why? Anyway, let's look at those stories. Start with this one for maize, please.
Can I tell you what he said? Then you can tell you what he said later.
I
Yes.
would very much like to hear what he said first before I say what he said.
What he's
Okay.
actually said, isn't there?
Yes.
Okay, so now there was a statement that came out yesterday. He actually did have a presser. He now being the CS for agriculture. So these are the subs. Imports of 16 million 90 kg bags of maize and 2.2 million 50 kg bags of rice is expected. Agriculture CS urges Kenyans to eat rice more instead of relying on ugali. So you guys, tone it down a bit. The prices of maize and rice will soon come down. So on that, you were right, CT. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mithika Linturi has promised this. He said that 1.4 million tons of maize and another 1.1 tons of rice are expected in the country in 1 week and 3 days, specifically. The government will also bring in 500,000 tons of yellow maize for animal feed. This is equivalent to about 16 million 90 kg bags of white maize, 2.2 million 50 kg bags of rice, and 5.6 million 90 kg bags of yellow maize. This is expected to plug the deficit of the produce and effectively bring down the cost of unga, which is retailing at 200 shillings currently. He explained that some of the countries Kenya had engaged are reluctant to share their maize for fear of shortage. No, we can't give you, because if I give you, what am I going to do?
Too nice, yeah.
He said, now, my plea to Kenyans, because of all of these things,
Yeah.
my plea to Kenyans, please tell your constituents that rice and potatoes can be a substitute
for starch. Okay.
He told the National Assembly Committee on Agriculture and Livestock yesterday. So he was telling members of parliament, now you go and tell your people, start to sensitize them to the fact that, we can eat these other things. It doesn't have to be ugali, amlioto. Already, 43.173 tons of rice and 1.305 tons of maize has been imported. He implored local farmers to sell their maize reserves to the National Cereals and Produce Board and not to hoard them in hopes that they can get higher prices. Ordinarily, prices of food commodities depend on the supply and demand, and that is why we're asking farmers to release the maize they're holding so that we can have enough. He said a week ago, a 50 kg bag of sugar was retailing at almost 7,200. Now it's 5,500 since we allowed importation.
Maize flour politics and a surge in cost of living are the center of the political duel pitting President William Ruto and Azimio coalition leader Raila Odinga.
Okay. So, but just for Thiongo, who wrote this story, got some things wrong here. So, we are expecting the vessel carrying maize and rice to dock at the port of Mombasa in 10 days.
Yes.
How long before that gets to the millers and then that maize flour gets to the market? It cannot be that the price of maize and rice will come down in 10 days.
No, it can't be. Because
We have to give it another couple of days, all right? So what Mithika should be saying is, from this point, okay, maybe in those 10 days when he's at Mombasa, he'll now flag off and say, here, and the maize is going to this number of millers. These are the millers who are going to receive it. And we expect millers X, Y, Z to drop the price of their maize flour significantly by this time.
I hear you.
Hopefully,
Because
he'll actually be there with the miller saying, "Sinini hapa ndio hii mahindi." Tell Kenyans when is maize coming.
When is actually coming? So then now you apply the price reduction to it, isn't it?
Yeah, and how long will that stock last?
Will that take? Exactly. That's the point I was going to. Is that you can see like a lot, but then if you're going to distribute it around the country, how long will it last? And then are there plans to bring in more?
Yeah.
Because what are we talking about now? Harvest is in another 90 days or so, isn't it?
Yeah.
Another harvest is in another 90 days. Secondly, when we talk about asking farmers to sell the maize that they are hoarding, because that's it. There was a harvest in February, March, isn't it? And now what they're complaining about is that farmers are holding on to their maize, and he's basically imploring them, please leave the profit that you would get if you kept this maize and sold it at a higher price. Sell it to the National Cereals Board. Sell it to us so that we can distribute it around the country. Whether they will agree to sell it is a totally different story.
What? It's a negotiation, Buana.
You know, these stories go back and forth, huh? Because according to this story in the Star, this is on page 8, okay, the vessel arrived on Wednesday.
Which
It
vessel?
already arrived.
Yes.
Carrying what?
Okay. It's carrying, the CS said, 1,305 metric tons of maize and 43,123 metric tons of rice docked in the country on Wednesday.
Allah.
Is there another one?
Wednesday is yesterday.
Yes.
Oh, this is the one they're saying has already been imported. So that could be the one that they're saying had already been imported. Is that the one?
If you
one?
follow the story carefully,
Yeah.
the maize, rice came into this country even before this date. This story has so many ups and downs and this and that and vague and this and let me just muddy the waters a little further.
Please.
Initially, the government had planned to import 900,000 metric tons of duty-free maize and 600,000 metric tons of rice, but this was adjusted upwards to match the prevailing deficit. Okay? The price of staple food has shot up from 170 to 200 for a 2 kg packet of maize, the unga. The government had planned to import, again, same article. The government had planned to import 1.4 million metric tons of maize and 1.1 million metric tons of rice to bridge the gap. So
Yeah, that's the one. That one that you've just read is the one that's coming in 10 days. That 1.4 maize and 1.1.
yeah, the 900 which I just read and the 600 which I just read.
Those are the ones that had already been imported. Abi?
There's confusion in this particular, and I think even the reporters who are writing do not have the entire picture.
No, and the chain
So
of
from
events.
the moment the first license was issued, how many vessels have arrived? Where have they gone to? We need to have this clear follow-up story.
There's a chronology that is required here.
Yes.
Because the maize didn't start arriving on Wednesday.
No, it didn't.
No, neither did rice start arriving on Wednesday. And edibles oils have been left out of this equation.
And they've
they
also
were
been
part of
arriving.
it. And beans were also part of this equation and they have also not been mentioned.
Yep.
So why are we being given information piecemeal?
I think that's what the CS, and this is what we keep saying, the CS should actually be coming out to say, so this is what we've done so far. Every week, talk about the vessels that are arriving, the millers that have received this maize, and when that
Actually,
produce is getting to the market, and at what price.
You mentioned a very important thing. The millers who are receiving the maize.
Yeah.
So you know, because miller, we attach a brand to you.
Yep.
So when I go to the supermarket,
look for brand X.
Yes.
It should be at this price at this point.
Yes. And let the CS tell you so that there's accountability and you know exactly what you're doing. But this one, right now, I have no idea.
None.
I just know there's maize, there's rice, it's in the country, it's being imported, it is at the port, it is being distributed, KNTC will distribute it, but I really don't know when it is the person who's expected to receive it will receive it. And we don't know the quantities, and we don't know how the distribution network will work.
This is where you start thinking of whether there is any kind of ukora that's happening here. First of all, who received this license to import the maize? How much are they bringing it to the country at? Because they're getting in the maize at duty free, how much are they selling it to the millers at, and how much are they?
Okay.
Is there some ukora that, we are still buying maize flour at this price, despite the fact that maize arrived at the port at so many shillings cheaper? So there's an entire markup here that's being made by people who are saying, well,
and by the way, this article also talks that ministry is also issuing permits for also issuing. Now, this is Ministry of what?
Agriculture.
Okay, what about trade? Because trade also issue licenses. So how do you differentiate between a license that is given to you by the Ministry of Trade? Because if you're trading in maize, you're trading. If you're in agriculture and you bring maize is an agricultural product. So where are we? Who is issuing what and how? While they're talking about this sequence of events, can they also tell us how one can apply for these licenses so that we can also apply? Eric, so we can supply in Nini?
True. Mahindi too.
Yes.
Ata mchele.
Yes. Because
we are talking about staple.
Yes, we can supply. We even know where there's a glut on the global market.
Yeah.
And all we have to do is pay for shipping. We know. Yes, we can bring. They're going to dump it anyway. So if we just pay for the shipping.
Julia is taking some in what the CS is saying. When it says the CS says eat rice, Julia is say, okay, it's easy for Milekar Intodi to say people should eat rice. It's like, can they eat cake? Because maize in Meru is not a staple food.
No,
we
it is
eat
not.
Ugali as a quick solution.
Yes.
When late in preparing supper.
Yes.
When you're late, oh my God, start to pick it in.
Ugali.
That's when you do it. And when children are falling asleep and it's eaten with milk.
Yes.
That's what they do in Meru.
Other people eat potatoes. Yes.
So she's saying, you see, ugali is not a staple. So it's easy for him to say it's okay, you can substitute ugali anyway. It's not like
and Linturi does come from that particular
Meru. Yes.
Right.
He's a Tigania. Now, there's a gentleman whose name is Peter Jehia. Peter Jehia is the manager at Ketraco. He has been taken to court by the EACC, which is saying that he has some 216 million shillings wealth. That EACC is saying, pesa hii. Hapana yako. But Jehia is saying, I can prove all my wealth. The commission has not adduced any evidence to prove my assets were acquired through corruption. Their case is only aimed at penalizing me for my success in business and legitimate investments. He filed the response in a suit where the EACC is seeking to have the properties registered in his name, his wife, Julie Helen Matthew, and son, Anthony Jehia, forfeited to the state of allegations that they were acquired through proceeds of corruption. The properties include 35 plots and apartments in Nakuru, Nairobi, and Machakos, value 78.4 million shillings. 9 vehicles, value 19.4 million shillings. And 75.8 million shillings in 4 accounts at Equity Bank, Kenya Commercial Bank, and Bank of Africa. So those 4 accounts have some to lose 75 million bob. Then you go to Safaricom Limited, and he has shares worth 14 million shillings. Then you go to Stima Sacco, and the couple has saved some 66 million shillings. Ikaya hapo kwa Stima Sacco. Then you go to United Sacco, and they have some 1 million shillings. And they also hold some shares at FEP Holdings Limited. But Jehia says the properties were acquired through many years of doing business in the public transport sector, investments in SACCOs since 1990, and sound business practices that he's been doing with his wife and son. according to him, he's been complying with the Public Officer Ethics Act by making his wealth declaration every year, and that nothing bars him as a public officer to engage in business which has made him a billionaire, a millionaire. Saying, look,
I can prove it.
I can prove everything.
Yeah. And
it's over many years. Don't just look at me just because EACC is 10 years old, you think I'm also 10 years old. No,
Wow.
I've been in business for over 30 years.
The good Philip Kagushia told us on a number of occasions that, look, if we suspect something is going on and we have a look and it actually finds out that this guy or lady has done their thing and is actually, watertight, we're going to leave you alone. So I wonder if this is going to be one of the cases where folks is left alone because he's been able to show you, I've actually worked hard, guys. It is possible.
It's possible
for you
to do
to
it.
work with a minimal salary but make sound business decisions with your partner and, make life work.
He's been in transport, then he's bought plots, then he's done this, then, wealth has grown over the years.
So what's the problem?
And nothing bars him as a public officer from doing business and not necessarily doing business with government. He's been in transport. He's been in matatu business. The one about doing business with government, Cabinet sat 3 weeks ago and they said they are going to review the Ndegwa report. And the Ndegwa report, CT, what did it say?
Well, one of the things that it said, if I may paraphrase, is that they saw absolutely nothing wrong in civil servants engaging in business. So essentially what they then did, they legislated and legalized conflict of interest. Yes.
They said you can do business, but if you just do business, there's no conflict really.
There is.
Unless you say doing business with government.
No, there's
Or with the
conflict.
no, if you're doing it with
Look.
where you're working,
No.
there's a problem.
No. Doing business generally.
No, doing business.
If you're a
people-
public officer and you own a matatu, where's the conflict of interest?
people were already doing business. If you don't specify and say doing business which does not involve government, then you've segmented it, it is clear. If it is left open, then, my friend, you invite all manner of creatures into that particular dance hall. This is where the problem arises, because now it's subject to interpretation. It did not prohibit anyone from doing business with the government. Okay? It's just said it does not prohibit. Now, just read it again and see. In reality, if you look at the ethos behind it, I dare say, to say that what has been interpreted as the Ndegwa report and what it meant is like saying those who were behind the report were essentially giving themselves a blank slate to determine how best they can do business with government. Read it. You'll find it's not entirely true. Not entirely true.
Yeah. So I think the whole issue here is if you are doing business with government, so it should be clear. Now, and that's what the cabinet said. They also looked at the Conflict of Interest Bill 2023, which seeks to provide a framework for the management of conflict of interest on the part of state and public officers arising from the discharge of their official duties. In this proposed law, it heralds a new dawn in the management of public affairs by introducing strong legal safeguards against real, apparent, or potential conflict between the private interests of public servants on the one hand and the public interest and their official duties on the other. The paradigm shift, even actually into law, will mark the end of the era where public servants would subordinate their official duties in their private and commercial interests. Cabinet had also reviewed the previous cabinet decision of 1971, which adopted the Ndegwa Commission report, recommending that public servants be given nearly unlimited scope to engage in private interest and commercial affairs. So this one, if they go ahead and limit it, is okay. But I looked at it and I asked myself, so basically what you're saying is state and public officers should now be barred from doing business with government.
Yeah.
State and public officers. State officers include the president, the deputy president, cabinet secretaries, ambassadors and all. Public officers are kina PSs and below. To be barred from doing business with government. Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
Tell us something.
The second highest state officer in this country is the deputy president,
Yes.
the Honorable Rigathi
Gachagua.
Gachagua. He's a good man.
Yes, he is.
He's a hard-working man.
Indeed he
He's
is.
an honest man.
Yes, please.
He's a truthful man. In his truthful nature, he has told Kenyans
That the
that he
country
has
is a
actually
company.
made hundreds of millions of shillings doing business
With government.
Him himself, he's a beneficiary. He has earned hundreds of millions of shillings doing business with national government, with county governments, with various state agencies. Now you see that same man saying, you know what, honestly, truthfully, diligently, it's not okay to do business with government.
Yeah.
You actually see Rigathi Gachagua coming out to tell us that.
Huh?
After he has made his own money, then now he comes, let's not make.
Hard small.
Tungoja tuone.
Hard small.
Let's wait.
As CT would say, that one is a what thing?
A looking.
It's a looking thing. That's a looking thing. Tell us one final story.
Okay, very quickly. They are animals. The mother of a young man who was killed in the US says they are animals. So Ivor Otieno died at the hands of police in the US on the 6th of March. It's the talk of most North American TV channels, news channels at the moment. He was said to have loved music, but he also suffered from bipolar and anxiety disorders. On the morning of March 3rd, his mother, Caroline Oko, noticed her son was going through distress. During his 10 years, he had been diagnosed with bipolar and anxiety disorders. She called her son's psychiatrist for help, like she did always. She wanted them to take him to hospital. He was going through mental distress, and it came out that they needed somebody who was specialized to come and speak with him. She recalled telling the person on the call at the psychiatrist's office. He had walked out, Ivor now, and removed some light fixtures from a neighbor's compound. He offered to compensate the owner, and after explaining that her son had a mental illness. So it was seen as that. The neighbor came out and asked that he be arrested, obviously because of what he had done in that moment. It was at that moment the police now came in and arrested him without asking the questions or listening to what his mother had said about his condition. They went through the situation whereby they suffocated him, pinned him down, and he died as a result of that.
Wow.
There was a chance to rescue him, she said. There was a chance to stop what was going on. I don't understand how all the systems failed him.
Okay. When we were having the discussions about the BLM demonstrations, and I was saying, you know what, it's turned political, and the likelihood of actually the system changing is going to take a while. This system changing, it'll take a while. Anyway, keep it here for more. Good morning, 7 a.m. Justice Thursday is coming up.
Spice up your life.
The news at the top of the hour on Vibes Radio.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto says his administration has made plans to fix the dollar shortage in the country. Ruto assured business owners that with the set market-driven strategies, the shortage should be addressed in a matter of weeks.
I just want to assure those in Kenya who are facing challenges of access to dollars that we have taken steps to ensure that dollar availability in the next couple of weeks is going to be very different, because our fuel companies will now be paying for fuel in Kenya shillings. They do not have to look for dollars every month, because we have done what we must do as government to ensure that we ease the burden of people who want to realize their returns in dollars.
Ruto further warned those holding dollars, saying they'll soon go into losses.
For the people who work numbers, I am giving you free advice that those of you who are holding dollars, you surely might go into losses. You better do what you must do, because this market is going to be different in a couple of weeks.
This as the head of state has vowed to rein in on impunity and sought to reassure investors in the wake of violent opposition protest against his government.
There is no reason whatsoever for anyone to stand in the way of free enterprise, disrupt business, or sabotage economic activity, or work as economic terrorists for personal selfish interest. Such impunity must be dealt with firmly and full accountability enforced to vindicate Kenya's commitment as a free market economy.
And the Azimio coalition has served the police with the notice of their planned demonstration scheduled for Monday and Thursday next week. Jubilee Party Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni says they handed the notice to the Inspector General of Police Japheth Koome in compliance with the law, and they expect them to provide security.
but we have served the letter for Monday demonstrations and Thursday demonstrations. But let me also say that we are not doing this because you require the permit from the police officers for you to hold demonstrations in this country. This is a right given to every Kenyan under the Constitution. And even the fact, if you are not able to serve a notice, it does not take away your right to demonstrate. For Kenyans, beware of what is happening. If we continue giving powers to the police officers through the back door to the point where they can stop you from airing your views when you want to, and these are the things we were taking away with our 2010 constitution.
Kioni and former Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya also retweeted that their protest will be peaceful for the calling on police to arrest violent individuals.
We would want the police officers to take action on any person who threatens the properties or the right of property of any other Kenyan. We as Azimio are saying we are going to have peaceful demonstrations. We are restraining our members from destroying any property. But there we have members of parliament issuing threats that they are going to invade the properties of Uhuru Kenyatta. That must be stopped by the police. The continued using of Uhuru as a scapegoat for all the problems that they have in this country must also stop. Their inability to govern cannot be wished away by just dragging in the name of Uhuru or Uhuru's family into it.
Meanwhile, the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops have called on President William Ruto and opposition leader Raila Odinga to set aside the differences through dialogue. Led by Archbishop Anthony Muheria, they said they were ready to mediate the talks.
We plead and ask our President, His Excellency William Ruto, to follow through with his promise to sit with and listen to Honorable Raila Odinga and other leaders and come out with some reasonable proposals to address the main plights of our country, specifically the high costs of living. We also invite Honorable Raila Odinga to accept dialogue for the good of our country. We believe that by sitting and dialogue can resolve this dangerous standoff.
He further condemned the plans by opposition leader Raila Odinga to hold demos every Monday and Thursday, urging Kenyans not to be part of them. The bishops also warned police against using excessive force.
We wish to once more make a passionate appeal to the people of Kenya to refrain from continued demonstrations as announced by the leader of opposition. We make this appeal to the leaders of these demonstrations. It is not opportune to have demonstrations, since such actions will not resolve the problems or the grievances cited.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Oseta. Good morning.
The news at
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Look at it coming off the Thika Superhighway. There we are at Ngara, and there's puddles. Actually, these are more than puddles. A river runs through it, essentially, is what we are seeing here. Most parts of the city this morning flooded. This is Ngara. We're also looking at other parts of the Thika Superhighway. Folks are doing a balancing act, trying to then get where they're going. Folks are helping out with putting tires on the road so that people can walk. That's the pedestrian situation. The vehicular situation is a little bit worse, I guess can be measured in the same manner. There's quite some traffic coming off of Thika Superhighway, and that's getting into the city. It's heavy coming off Mombasa Road. Looking at Jogo Road, which started very early, it's a mess. Coming off Ngong Road, we're seeing the same thing. James Gishero piling up onto Wayaki Way. And looking on the other side towards Limuru Road, we've got traffic coming in from Muthaiga North, and that continues to be heavy. It's also heavy coming out of Kitisuru, and likely to continue this way through most parts of the morning with the heavy rain. We'll keep an eye on things. You need to stay safe, folks. Quite a number of accidents we've seen already this morning. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Want to keep things moving, but we want you to arrive safe.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
7
This
minutes
is
after
the
7. Good
Situation
morning
Room.
and welcome to the second hour of the Situation Room. Happy Thursday, 23rd day of March, 2023. Well, not necessarily a very happy morning for very many people on the roads this morning, like you've shown us, Ndu. Oh my goodness. The photos that are coming out of all the places in Nairobi after the overnight rain. This is Ngara, right at the footbridge, getting into the Ngara stage. And there's nowhere for people to walk to get into
There are
the
your school
churches.
children going to school, trying to then be able to maneuver. Folks have been able to put some tires on the road for folks to try and get through, but it's an absolute mess. And we're at 7 minutes after 7 o'clock, and we don't know what time they'll get there, but it's crazy.
This is just, it's sad. So we see this, we see General Motors one, we saw the situation at General Motors again. It's the same kind of thing where trying to cross over from one end or the other at General Motors, across the superhighway. Same thing at the Westland stage. There it is at Westland stage. It's just, it's crazy. It's crazy. Poleni sana to everybody. Well, let's just try and be patient and also be courteous. If you are in a vehicle, you're driving or you are a passenger, just be conscious of the people who are walking by the side of the road. It's because there's nowhere else to walk this morning. That's the only place they can walk, on that little bit of tarmac. Okay? It's Thursday, and therefore we have a Justice Thursday conversation. We are joined by a judge of the Employment and Labor Relations Court, the Honorable Justice Nzioki Wamakao. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning.
Karibu sana to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you for having me. It's an awesome opportunity for us to discuss a few issues.
Very good. That is a hot seat of the Situation Room. You can see
it is. It's raised.
You're right there. You're in the dock.
Yep, I am.
It's you to answer the questions. Hatukuulizi utajitetea ukiwa pande gani, ni hapo.
Hapa.
Utajitetea ukiwa hapo. You're here this morning to tell us about the Employment and Labor Relations Court, and it's also the ELRC's Service Week. You'll tell us about that and what you've been doing. To welcome you to the show, C.T. Muga has the day's proverb.
Yes, and our proverbs for the whole of this week come from a country that is nestled on the East African coast. Its neighbors to the north are Somalia and Ethiopia, to the south Tanzania, and it's called Kenya. Right. Crawling on hands and knees has never prevented anyone from walking upright.
Crawling on hands and knees has never prevented anyone from walking upright.
Yes.
Unless you can't walk.
Like I said, that has very many presumptions.
Yeah.
And as I said, it's a proverb.
Judge, when you hear this proverb, what do you think these Kenyans had in mind?
Probably they had in mind the struggles we all go through in life, and the fact that there might be a time when you're really down, but then that does not prevent you from getting up at a particular time if you don't give up. I think it's about resilience if we are to read into it, and hopefully that's what they meant, that if you don't give up, even if you're down, one day you might just get up and be on the move.
So no situation is permanent.
Indeed. I suspect that's what they meant.
That's a good perspective.
It's an excellent perspective. Yes.
Out of 10?
Well, this one, since it's a judge of the High Court, we have to change the marking scheme.
No. Be kind and just say it as it is. Justice
is in the process.
Equal treatment.
Yes, I am going to treat you equally.
Yes.
Because you're a judge of the High Court.
Indeed.
On a scale of 1 to 15, the judge has actually gotten 15, and I'm going to explain why. Whenever people talk about crawling on one's knees, the first thought that comes to your mind is a child, the process of movement before they actually stand upright.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you reference suffering, then you're saying that these problems have brought you to your knees, meaning you are not in your best possible position. So you're not upright.
Mm.
And as you correctly put it, it doesn't mean that you can remain in that position indefinitely, ad infinitum, as they say.
Mm.
You can still overcome those problems, and you can still get from the position of crawling to the point where you actually stand up and you are upright. Yes.
Mm.
Mm. But also, from a purely from a pure justice position, even if you are one of these people who's crawling in the murky depths of disobeying the law, you can work and become an upright citizen.
Yeah. Even if the judge finds you guilty,
it doesn't mean you have to continue remaining. Serve your term and then become an upright citizen.
All right.
Indeed,
Yes.
Judge, the Employment and Labor Relations Court. We've had 2 judges so far from the ELRC in the show.
Right.
And they've explained to us what the court does
right.
In terms of looking at the employment and labor relations in the country. Now, you're having a service week. Tell us about the service week and what it means.
Well, the court was one of the offshoots of the 2010 Constitution. If you recall, previously the court was under the Ministry of Labour, and in the new Constitution, Kenyans clamoured for a court that was at the same level as the High Court. As a result of that, judges were appointed to that court come 2012. I was one of the 12 that were appointed. And we were to celebrate our 10 years last year, but due to lack of finances, we were unable to mount any celebration. So we started our celebrations sometime last year, which will culminate in a symposium this year. Now, as a result of the various things we wanted to bring to the fore, one of the key aspects is something that ties in very well with the goal and vision of the Chief Justice, which is sustaining judicial transformation through social transformation. So in the social transformation that is espoused by the current Chief Justice, we are now looking to making sure that cases get out of the system as fast as possible. That has always been the goal, but there is a more pressing need for us to do so because the needs have increased as we've gone on. People have become more aware. More people are coming to our courts. People who would ordinarily have been quiet and complacent and not bothered to take up matters are now coming to court. So we need to have a very innovative way of clearing the cases that come before us. And one of the ways we had was a service week where we would focus on hearing cases. Because when you hear a case and give a judgment, it gives it closure, at least at the level where we are. Parties still have an option to go to the Court of Appeal and even the Supreme Court in certain instances. Now, for our court to celebrate this great event, we have a series of service weeks planned. This was the first one that we had in Nairobi. I know courts in Kisumu will have a service week. The judges in Mombasa will have a service week, Nakuru, and so on, so that we can clear as many cases as possible. What we do in a service week is we focus only on hearing cases. Of course, there'll be 1 or 2 other cases that will come up either for directions or mention, but the main goal of the service week is to have cases heard. So we had a service week, and during the service week, 2 of the judges who formed the Nairobi complement were unavailable. So the rest of us were able to hear 105 matters, 105 cases heard and concluded in just
5 days or 7 days?
Yes, 5 days, Monday to Friday.
Okay.
Heard and concluded?
Yes, heard and concluded from the start of the case to the end of the case.
So I'm curious as to how that happens in 5 days when you have 105 cases heard, concluded,
No. Judgment now is to come
later
after a while, because normally what advocates will say is that at the end of the case they want to file some submissions, and then you have a small window in which to do that, and then we give you a date for judgment.
So then how come you're able to do that in 5 days, 105, and then not able to do that during a regular...
Yes, it's because now we took out every other thing.
And what are these other things, essentially?
Applications. Okay. And I think that's one of the things that really bogs the judicial system, because you have a case that might be ready for hearing, but somebody finds something to nitpick about, and so they'll come with an application, and that delays the whole thing, because when there's an application, you'll hear the application, give a decision. After your decision, there might be another application because of your decision, where they say, now give us a stay pending appeal, we want to go on a court of appeal, we do not agree with you on this point. And then you have to make a determination on that, and when you're done with that, the other side might start another application, so they can keep you in a circus of sorts.
So in this case, there's a refusal for those things to happen. It's Eric and CT come before, during the service week, they come before and say, this is the issue. So we're saying, okay, hear your side, then let's go through the process and let's finish this thing today.
What we do is that we pick out matters, first, which are old, which have been in the system for long.
Okay.
And two, which are ready for hearing, not at the beginning of the suit, meaning it's not a case that was just filed a week ago,
right?
But one that has actually now all the documents are on record,
has matured.
Parties are ready to proceed. Ordinarily, it should be within a month of having filed, because ideally you file a suit, the other party has 21 days in our court to respond. After the close of the 21 days, if the other side has anything to respond to, it could take at the most 7 days. So you start the case, serve the notices, etc. That should take you not more than a week, then 21 days, and then another 1 week. And in less than 2 months, the case can actually be ripe for hearing. Unfortunately, after the close of pleadings, sometimes that's when the party begins, where advocates or parties, people, clients start moving this thing around to the point that you don't get it heard. And then, of course, there's the unfortunate situation where occasionally you'll come and the judge is not available, or the matter is not listed. Those small hitches can also push a case away. And then, unfortunately, given that we had a shortfall in the number of judges who were needed for the court, who had been appointed, the cases kept piling up slowly over the years. When I was appointed a judge, we had 15 slots that were available for judges to occupy, but they only appointed 12 of us, which means we went in short of 3
already
at the beginning. And then we waited for so long before another 10 were appointed. Unfortunately, before they were sworn in by the former president, one passed away in a road accident, a gentleman who we would have loved to have on the bench, someone who knew the law, someone who was very good in labor matters. He was called Mr. Okeche. Unfortunately, he passed on before he was appointed. He was one of the better judges of the employment court we didn't have to help move this discourse a bit forward. But thankfully now we have an additional 9 judges who are, as you probably might have realized, have helped move the ball forward. We are getting more cases resolved. Kisumu now has 2 judges. Mombasa has 2 judges. The judge who had been posted to Malindi went there and cleared all the cases, so they closed the Malindi station. So we are getting somewhere, at least. Right now, the cases from Malindi are handled by Mombasa, and it's comfortable. And so we are hopeful that over time, we will be able to meet the needs of the people of Kenya in having justice as speedily as it should be. So that's one of our hopes because of the numbers that we have. Yes.
This 105, because it's a very interesting achievement.
Right.
105 cases heard and concluded in 5 days.
Right.
And you've told us you first looked at what are those cases that we'd like to deal with in these 5 days. You looked at the old cases, you looked at those ones that were ripe for hearing. You know, they've already gone through the preliminary stages.
Yes.
What list did you come up with at the beginning?
It had 100 and at least minimum 160 26, those are the ones that were concluded completely, because some were actually dismissed, where you call out and the parties don't show up, you give them a chance to appear, they don't show up, so those were dismissed.
Within those 5 days?
Yes. Then an additional 360 were given either...
Justice, if you may just hold that thought.
Yes.
Just explain. When you say dismissed, what do you mean?
We terminated the case. The case is now dead.
So
dismissed.
What does that mean?
It means you were given a chance to come for the hearing on that day. You didn't show up. We throw out your case.
So whoever brought the case to the court,
yes, you
that
lost.
matter is now
it's now finished.
And
it's
you
closed.
can't rejig it or you restart it again.
You could try, but it's usually a hard hurdle to cross, because one, by the time we are dismissing, we have to be sure that you are aware the case was coming up. Either you are the one who took the date, we've tried to get an explanation around it, you are unavailable, your lawyer has no explanation as to why you're absent, we throw it out.
Please continue. It's now clear in my mind.
Yes, and then now others were given additional directions, because you see there are some which may have at first flash appeared to be ready. Then when they come, they say, oh, sorry, Judge, our witness was dismissed the other day, or so-and-so passed away, and so we need to substitute that person to come and testify. And so for that, you really can't push them to a hearing, because something unforeseen has come up that has disrupted that. And so 360 matters have additional directions to be given. In total, they handled, the entire court handled 551 cases. 551 in that 1 week.
In that 1 week?
Yes, satisfactorily, because we had trade unions normally will come to register agreements they have with employers. We were able to register 53 of them, and then 38 were deferred for one reason or the other. Most of the time, we like getting a confirmation from the employer that they do not object to the document that has been presented, because the document goes from the union and the employer to the Ministry of Labour, who go through it, and then they forward. The Ministry of Labour is the one that forwards it to court. When it gets to court, you might find that because of economic circumstances, something may have changed, which the Ministry of Labour may have noted and said, this is an issue they need to look at as the people who are agreeing to this new arrangement. And so when it comes, the employer might say, with this economic times, maybe the increase I had proposed here, I may want to cut off 0.5% or maybe 1%. So they may need to go back and negotiate, or someone may have a change of mind. And so we give them the opportunity to object or accept the registration. If they all are in agreement, then it's registered.
Register.
Yes.
How many judges handled these 551 cases?
There were 10 judges. So that was a total of 50. That's 10 cases per day. On an ordinary day, like today, I have 2 hearings. So having an additional 8 means you really have to push yourself to do...
on your afterburners.
Yes.
So it's possible?
It is possible if all parties are in agreement. Because you see, if, for instance, the 2 cases I have before me, I'm hopeful that the parties will be ready to proceed today. But sometimes you'll go to court and find someone not ready to proceed. Yes.
What is the nature of these cases that we're looking at? Because that could pose as an element then of challenge when we're talking about the reason why maybe some of these cases take so much time.
Well, our cases are between an employer and an employee, or a trade union and an employer, or the Federation of Employers and a claimant and a former employee of one of their clients. So it might just be narrowed to those areas. Though, of course, other issues may crop up in an employment dispute, such as constitutional issues, but mainly it's just employee-employer relations.
Yeah, so that's what compounds it for me then. Because, you talk about the straightforwardness of some of these. It's clear who is going to be between. Former employer, employee, unions, etc., etc.
Right.
So then the details of why then it takes so long
to be heard
is not necessarily because of the nature of the case, but because of
other intervening things.
The
like
system.
I told you.
Advocates know that they can come and ask for a stay, for example. So exactly. So it's external mischief here that could be played.
Let me put it this way. And I hope some people don't want to crucify me after I say this. You see, if I am the one who's done wrong to you, Ndu, it is in my interests for that not to be concluded, because I do not want to face the consequences of what I did. So I'll play all manner of tricks to try and delay you getting that resolution that you want, the closure that you want, which is a judgment in your favor, or at least a determination on the issue that yes, Nzioki wronged you. He should pay you this for having made sure that you worked overtime and never paid you, refused to give you leave, all those small things that employers do. So it could be one party may want to delay. The other side might be that the one who brought the case does not want it concluded either. Wants to keep holding it over the head of this employer. So that the employer always has to say, oh no, we are going back again. Oh,
so
man,
they just wanted to punish the employer.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
it. My joy is just being a nuisance.
Wacha niwasumbue. Wacha watanijua sasa. So you keep them in that system for a while, not really looking forward to the end of that case.
Yeah.
But the ones who definitely are keen to have matters concluded, we get cases resolved very quickly. There are some cases which you'll find on the website, Kenya Law, which were filed last year, and right now they're already concluded.
Isn't it interesting then that, then as a judge of this court, then your hands are somewhat tied, isn't it? Because you know what these guys are up to. They know you know. They also know you know what's up, but you have to grant them a stay if they ask for it. You have to grant them many things.
Not necessarily.
What do you do?
I believe I'm one of the ones. Some of them I not really like.
What you're doing.
Yeah, because
you are the unpopular ones.
I'm one of those because I do not like people dancing around something when they can actually have it resolved. And when I went to Nyeri, I was there very briefly in 2018, 2019. And my reception was at first a bit lukewarm because the lawyers they didn't understand why I'm really pushing them to have cases determined. But by the end of the first few months, I think it was about 4 to 5 months, they realized it was to their advantage because they were getting cases resolved quickly. If they disagreed with my decision, they could go to the Court of Appeal. And at that time, because there was a Court of Appeal sitting in Nyeri, they could get their cases tracked quickly and they have a determination. So in my service there, I ended up doing something that hadn't been done in a while, I believe. I cleared 497% of the cases that are there. So I left the station. By the time I was coming to Nairobi, Justice Maraga just kept telling me, "Nzioki, I think you need to close this place. Come to Nairobi where there are more cases."
Where there are more cases.
So he brought me to Nairobi on 2 or 3 occasions to hear cases because I didn't have so many in Nyeri. So I'd come in for a week, hear cases in Nairobi, go back to Nyeri, and then deliver judgments for the cases in Nairobi, the ones in Nyeri. I handled Meru as well. And so we were able to clear quite a lot. And I had 2 gentlemen to thank that for. That is Mr. Mugambi and Mr. Odinga. Those were my court clerks in Nyeri. When I got in, they told me, "Judge, for you to be able to clear the backlog as well as the new cases, you have to have a mix of the two." There's a formula we've worked out. Mugambi is a very good mathematician. He worked out a formula where he knew how many cases, because of the statistics we had in the registry, were to be listed every single day before me so that I could clear both the old cases and the new cases. And by the time I was leaving, the cases were current because they were able to do all that. And the lawyers were willing to embrace the no adjournment policy that I introduced in that court. And they would come and you'd hardly hear anyone saying, "I wish to apply for an adjournment," because you only apply for an adjournment when Either the claimant is sick and there is proper evidence for it, the lawyer is unwell, or someone is deceased. Any
and
other
there has
reason,
to be documentary evidence.
Every other reason, we continue.
We continue without it.
And you get a determination. Some were actually happy with that because it cleared some of the cases they had in their offices, and they were able to now attract new clients. Because you'd say, at least you see, I move cases. Come to me.
Justice, we're about
Let's
to
take
go
a
to a
break.
break.
Yes.
Anyway, I'll answer the question after the break.
Hold it.
Yes.
Hold it. Justice Nzioki Wamakao is a judge of the Employment and Labor Relations Court. It's been in operations for how long now? For 11. This is the 11th year.
11th year.
The 11th year. And he's been there since the beginning. So this court basically is, what do we call those courts? It's a what court of?
It's of the same status as the High
Court.
Yes. So it's a High Court, Environment and Land Court, Employment and Labor Relations Court.
There we go.
Though I got the order wrong, I might be crucified by others. It's supposed to be High Court, because that was the original court that was there, then the Employment and Labor Relations Court, and the last court that was inaugurated was the Environment and Land Court. In the same year, though, in November of 2012, ours was in July.
Okay.
Yes.
Same year. Previously, this was under the Ministry of Labour as the Industrial Court.
Yes.
We are talking about the work that they've been doing at the Employment and Labour Relations Court. They concluded the Employment and Labour Relations Court Service Week as they are marking their 10 years in office on the 11th year. Well, because of various other factors that he's told us about. There'll be a symposium later this year, and he'll tell us about it as well. So, as we take this break, Judge, you can see what's happening on the road, and
I've just seen the floods.
It's crazy this morning.
I thought I had it rough because there were some spots on the highway you'd have to pause because there's a pedestrian walking.
Yeah,
you can't drive. The guys behind you want you to move, but I mean, it should not be right for you to splash water on anyone. If you've ever walked on the streets of Nairobi and you become a driver, you do not want that.
You don't want that at all.
Yeah.
In this break, Judge, we usually call it the Minute Maid break. And we will tell you why.
So you can imagine when you need to take a break so that it can allow you to come back and be a little bit more productive, right? Imagine having walked through that this morning or had heavy thoughts, and Minute Maid says, let's give you an opportunity through our various range of flavors to take a sip and have an moment and then come back and get into it.
I would welcome that.
When you're doing your 50 cases in a day, you need a Minute Maid on your side. 26 minutes to 8. Let's take a break. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
You think you can guess the year?
2007. That's when the theme song, that's when it premiered for the James Bond movies.
You're half correct. But in terms of guessing the year?
Okay, if not 2007, then 1963.
Oh, now you're just throwing things, eh? You're throwing the sufria and everything outside.
The Spice Drive. Big hair and the biggest hits from the best decade.
Tune in to the Spice Drive with me, Edward Quatch, 3 to 7 in the PM.
The Spice Drive.
Are you looking for your dream home or the perfect plot of land to build on? Look no further than Digger Real Estate, the e-commerce site for all your real estate needs. From cozy apartments to sprawling estates, we have a wide selection of houses for rent and for sale. And if you're looking to build from scratch, we have prime plots of land available for purchase. Don't settle for anything less than your ideal home. Head to realestate.digger.co.ke today to start your search. Digger Real Estate, where your dream home becomes a reality.
Can you dig it?
The rain is still coming down. It's 15 degrees in Nairobi, highs of 23 and lows of 14. It's 15 and sunny in Nakuru. At some point, the rain coming down with highs of 24 and highs of 25 in a clear Nyeri at 16. It's 13 and sunny in Eldoret, highs of 21. Partly sunny conditions in Mombasa at 27. And we'll see 27 and mostly sunny in Malindi. It's 20 and partly sunny in Kisumu with highs of 26. And the sun is up in Kakamega, going to highs of 25 today. The rain continues in Kampala, highs of 23 and lows of 18. And partly sunny conditions in Dar es Salaam at 26. We'll see highs of 29. It's a partly sunny morning in Johannesburg, highs of 23 and lows of 12, and partly cloudy now in Lagos at 25. The rain still comes down in Kinshasa at 23. We'll see highs of 30.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Unright. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Very, very busy traffic this morning. Let's look at Jogo Road, which started very early. It's heavy coming in here. We're looking at Wangu Avenue, then connecting with Heshima, joining with Jogo. That doesn't look pretty at all. It's also heavy coming off of Thika Superhighway. That still continues to be a thing. I don't even know what this looks like. Now we're looking at well into Kiambu County, traffic inching along. Folks says, use the service lanes, you'll be fine, and then got stuck. So we're looking at highway, service lanes, everything on Thika Superhighway this morning is jam-packed. You don't even want to look at Kiambu Road because it's in and outbound traffic. I don't know how many lanes we are at now trying to get past the DCI. Limuru Road, very busy as well. Coming in from Parklands, coming in from further Kitisuru, Spring Valley, all of this a mess. You were going to use the Red Hill Link Road to escape the traffic on Waiaki Way. That's packed too. And it's also heavy on James Gishuru. It's going to be a morning that begs patience today. Let's know where you find a good route that folks can use. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 90
News. It's Justice Thursday with the Honorable Justice Nzioki Wamakao from the Employment and Labor Relations Court. City, here's your moment.
This is my moment.
This is it.
And it's not a Minute Maid moment.
No.
Okay.
There's a post-Minute Maid moment.
I was thinking as the justice was speaking about the 490 cases that he completed within a record time.
497%.
Yes, 497%. Okay, 497 cases. Okay,
percentage.
I'm stuck on this cases thing. You can call it percentage if you like. But anyway, it was an enormous feat. Now, what I was wondering was, among the three things I'm wondering number one, is it that after you laid the strict rule of the law and made it clear to those who populate your court the ground rules by which you're going to function, that after a while, people would sort out their matters elsewhere before coming to you?
No.
They would still come?
Cases will still be filed. Even right now, we have a judge in Nyeri. He's handling quite a big chunk of the northern part of the Republic. And the cases are still there.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at these cases, is there commonality? Is there a trend? Is there a thread that one sees? Because, yes, they're labor-related cases, but of what specific nature do you see recurring over and over and over?
The thread is very simple. You all know that when an employer wishes to terminate the
services.
Yes, when they want to terminate the services of an employee, many of them will do it in ways that are not legal. And that's where the problem is. It's just a lack of understanding of the law, lack of appreciation of the ramifications of not doing what is right under the law. Because if employers just simply followed Section 41 of the Employment Act, I would not have a problem in court. To be honest, we'd only have issues with maybe trade unions trying to register CBA, negotiating, trying to get new members, all those squabbles that would be interesting.
Or issuing a strike notice. And such.
Yes. Those would be interesting. But we would not be stuck in this rigmarole of hearing an employee who was told, just get out of my office. I don't care. Go. And the employee goes. The employee goes, but he'll come to court for something the employer could simply have said, this is the way I need to operate. I need to operate within the law. The law says I need to let this employee know the reason why I'm getting rid of this employee. I need to have the employee with a person of their own choice listening to this explanation and then listening to what the employee has to say and then making the decision to terminate or not. If that was done, we would not be here. And unfortunately, most employers know the law. They just refuse to obey the law.
Why do you think they refuse to obey the law, Judge?
Because of impunity.
Is it only that? Is it impunity only on the part of the employer?
Well, most of the disputes you'll see are not employer versus employee. Most of the disputes in our court will be employee versus employer. Why?
The employee is aggrieved.
Yes. Why? Because the employer has said, I don't care, I will do whatever I want. And by the time this person gets justice in our court system, it will take time. They will suffer. Some even give up. Yeah.
Let's flip the coin just a little bit for this conversation, just to spice it up. Okay? You have this employee who is basically just... Okay, you know what I mean.
He's just creative.
You know what I mean. Okay?
There you go.
You have tried talking to them and all, and then they are... So you've come to the end of the tether and patience and everything. And okay, so if I start this whole process of, okay, the first time I show cause letter, shall have a disciplinary hearing, welcome them to a disciplinary hearing. This is basically dragging my time, and the time of other employees whom will have to sit as witnesses into this, just dragging us.
Eric,
and this...
Let me ask, how many minutes?
The employee needs to get out of here.
No. How many minutes of your time will you waste there? The maximum period you'd spend is 2 weeks. Suspend the employee, listen to the employee, make your decision. 2 weeks, 14 days only. It took longer for the floods in the days of Noah. 14 days only. Surely.
And you go through that process.
Then most employees, once you take them through that process and you're fair in how you do it, many of them won't bother coming to our court. And 2, if they come to our court, I'll be very happy to dismiss the case.
Because they've gone through the process.
Yes, and they have no reason bringing the employer before me. There are some where you'll find, if you read, where we say, case dismissed, employee to pay the costs. Because why are you dragging this employer to court, and you know very well
that you
are taken through the process, you are wrong, you know it. Others even admit it in writing, then they come to court, surely.
So then we're saying, essentially, that the majority of the cases that we see, at least between employer and employee, is because there was a procedure at the organization that was not carried out in the manner in which it ought to have been. The law.
Yes.
And then this individual then ends up being aggrieved.
Yes.
Not necessarily. So is it possible then that this employee, this individual, may have actually been in the wrong, but because of procedural and legal issues, certain things were not followed, and this person could actually come out and have a case won in their favor?
Yes, we've had so many in our court. If the employers were just a bit more intelligent and decide to follow the law, they would save themselves a lot of money. They would. They would never need... Sorry, I'm being a bit unkind. They just need to follow the law. Simple. Follow the law.
It's follow the law.
If you just follow the law...
It's blanket. The law is clear.
It helps you in the long run. You don't end up paying for something that you know it was right for me to let go of this employee, but because I used emotions instead of logic and reasoning, I end up paying again. So the best is follow the law.
So the advice to any employer is...
Follow the law.
At that moment when you are really livid, take a moment, calm down. Take some Minute Maid.
Count 10 minutes.
Calm down.
10 times. Go and look at the law.
Think through the next steps.
Yes, and
before
then call
you actually
your HR and tell them, please, process this. I have this issue, so and so. And then have the law followed. Once that's done, you're covered.
Context, though, Judge. Many of the cases that you were talking about, if you look at the scale and size of the employer, many of them are SMEs, aren't they?
Some are, but you also have big shots who don't follow the law.
What's the percentage? Is it more of the cases that involve employees of a big enterprise that has all these departments, has a legal department, has an HR department, or is it involving employers who basically are a single entity? It's like me and CT, we are employers, and we
You
are
may
running a
find
business
those single entities handle discipline cases a lot better than some of the big shots. So it's not even so much about size. It's a question of what is the appreciation of that enterprise as to what the law is and what is the best way to resolve a dispute. There are so many cases that come our way and they are necessary. And it's just because of someone refusing to follow the law. Yeah.
If I have a disagreement with a colleague,
yes,
and the disagreement has to do with what the colleague thinks is the way I work or the way I represent my work, and I disagree with their opinion on the matter, and if they make the matter an HR issue where letters are written or they impute my incompetence, whereas in my view no such incompetence exists, is that a matter I take to the High Court or is that a matter I bring to your courts?
It's an employment issue. Performance is an employment issue.
Performance is an employment issue. So if someone imputes my capacity to actually carry out the duties that I have and then proceeds to even present written documentations as to what it is that they consider to the impropriety that I brought into the service, that is a labor-related issue.
Unless there is defamation involved, and even if there is defamation, that can still be handled in our court. That is why the court was elevated to the level of the High Court. If there is a labor issue that exists, and that labor issue touches on the other periphery issues such as defamation, you can file a suit for the resolution of the labor matter alongside the defamation. You don't sever the case. We don't tell you now for defamation and a High Court. Yeah, we deal.
You deal with it?
Yes.
And when judgments on such matters are issued, what is the level of, kind word, compensation that your courts?
There are some generous awards that have been made by that court. Yeah. There are generous awards that have been made by the court. It all depends on the person aggrieved, the kind of breach that took place, because you see some of these things are just so outrageous that the employer or the person involved has to be sufficiently punished by way of those damages.
Is there a set limit?
No.
It's discretion of the judge.
You remember, I have said you have to show the damage that was caused to you.
Yes.
And I cannot give you as a judge more than you asked for. So you say I was defamed, as my employer dismissed me, this is what they did, they published this in the newspapers, they did this online. You put a figure on it. If your magic number is 10 million, that's the maximum I can give you. If it is more and you prove it, you will get it. If it is less and you prove it, you will get it. So it all depends on where you place yourself.
Enforcement, though.
I can assure you our orders are normally obeyed, even by the Republic.
Even by the government?
Yes. Even by the Republic.
I gave an order that was not very pleasant to some people. I stopped the appointment of CSs at one point.
Yeah.
And they obeyed it. Parliament didn't proceed with the vetting. They did not take any step. They waited for the case to be determined. Once the case was determined, they were able to now proceed.
Because we've been asking Dennis Itumbi to buy us some lunch. He got some good orders from the court on the matter of how he was dismissed in the previous administration. He's just been sworn in this morning as a CAS. So Dennis Itumbi kumbe alipata pesa na anasema hakupata. Judge, Andrew Flanking is asking, are there cases that come before your court and you can clearly see this does not belong here? Actually, we don't have jurisdiction for this. Or maybe you do, but then it would better be handled by another court. For example, he's asking, are there cases that come to your court that should actually be in the small claims court?
There are cases that come to us which could be in the correct forum, which would be the magistrate's court. Unfortunately, if you file a case in our court and it is meant to be in the other court, decisions have been made that you cannot transfer that which is an illegality. So we will not transfer the case. The only time we can transfer a case to the magistrate's court is if the case was filed long before we separated the magistrate's court matters from our court matters, and then you can push it to the magistrate's court. Otherwise, ideally, if it was meant for the magistrate's court and is filed in our court, you cannot transfer it downwards. You let them go and file at the magistrate's court.
I see. So then, linked to that, does the alternative justice system, does it play out within your court as well?
Indeed it does.
And then are there provisions as well for things like mediation, or must it then go through this?
One of the things actually that was very, very well laid out, even before the start of this court, was a process of conciliation and mediation at the Ministry of Labour. I don't know whether you've heard of labour officers or conciliators. They normally are officials from the Ministry of Labour who are in various outposts, and when a dispute arises, a report is made to the labour officer. When the labour officer receives the report from the employee or employer, because employers also make reports, the labour officer will try and resolve that dispute by mediating between the two parties. If the parties feel the mediation should not be at that level, they write to the minister requesting for a conciliator to be appointed. Now, a conciliator takes the role of an arbitrator whose determination will be binding on the parties, and the only recourse is for them to come to our court if they wish to reverse what the conciliator holds. So the conciliator is appointed by the minister. Parties give their submissions to the conciliator makes a report, and that report binds the parties. If a party does not agree with what is in that, then the only challenge is to our court. So that has already existed in our court system before. But even with the new look at various aspects of judicial service, we now have a mediation that can be initiated by the court. Court-annexed mediation, where we receive cases. When they're sifted at the very first stage, you realize this is a matter that parties can actually talk and agree on. Say, in a case where I'm an employee of Muga, and I am told leave, but they pay me everything except for one item, which is leave. And the leave that I claim was due was 21 days. He says my leave was 10 days and that it had been paid. I mean, for that, you don't really need to go for a hearing per se. So we can be told to go through this other system where we sit, because it might be just a question of calculation, reconciling records, and we can actually have it determined through conciliation or mediation, rather. And at that point, if it is annexed to the court, then we will go discuss out there, come back and record it before the court, and say, yes, we have had an agreement. This is what we agreed, that the days that I'm entitled to now are not even 21, they're 11, and the check even has been prepared, so this matter can be closed.
I'm happy.
And then that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are matters which can be diverted to mediation. There are others which can be taken to conciliation.
Yes.
In case somebody jumps the gun and rushes to court instead of going through the process at the ministry, we can take them there. Or if in my own estimation, it can be determined through a settlement. There's once I had a case before me where a lawyer had sued a law firm. And from the way I saw them interacting, I thought it might be easier if they just settle it. Because you see, there are relationships that may continue over time.
Yes.
You'll still be engaging in court. You might be opposite each other at a point. And you don't want to have that cut and fine slice of everything. So I'd looked at it and I told them, please go and have a discussion. And I think they were able to settle on account of the prompting of the court. Because I told them, no, just try and talk. The dispute here is just about X, Y, Z. Why don't you just have a chat?
A chat about it.
Because if you come to me, I may just...
No, I'll decide it. as a court. But you see, once I decide it, it can break a relationship that could have gone
doesn't
on.
need to break.
It doesn't need to break, yes.
Judge, are there things that the Employment and Labour Relations Court, as you mark these 10, 11 years since it was established, are there things that you think maybe ought to be done? For example, hiring of more judges. How many judges do you think are optimal for this court? What kind of budget does it need? How many stations does it need to have?
Indeed, we need more judges for the court. I will not keep harping on the fact that at the first instance we had 3 less than we were supposed to have. And by the time we were having the new lot appointed, there was 1 less. So indeed, we do need more. However, with the ability now to hear cases through the online system we're using, virtual hearings, we've brought all corners of the country closer. It's just that challenges of ICT in other places might play in, but we can comfortably say we're at a better position now than we were 2 or 3 years ago. Of course, we can get to a better position if we had maybe 2 or 3 additional judges. You heard the judge in Nyeri serves Meru. The judge in Nyeri will sit in Meru from time to time. Unfortunately, by the time I was leaving, they had whittled down the period in which I could serve there. I used to go there once a month. It was reduced to once every 2 months. And of course, cases pile up.
Yeah.
And they need a judge who will be able to serve that region, because you see, the judge in Nyeri serves Murang'a, Nyeri, Kirinyaga, Tharaka Nithi, Embu County, Marsabit, Laikipia,
Isiolo,
parts of Nyandarua, all the way up to the border with Ethiopia.
Wow.
So if there's a dispute out there in the north, you can imagine. There's once I had a case, a gentleman came to my court and it was in Meru. He says, it took me 2 days to get here, and now they're telling me we go, and I come back again. Judge, I don't know how many times I can do this. So I told the other side, you have heard his plea. I will sit here until afternoon. We will have to hear you. Call your witness, tell them to travel. So we had the claimant, the respondent's witness traveled, they came, I was able to close that matter. But you can imagine that's just one of many of people who suffer because of distance. Yeah.
Because of things that they... Judge, thank you very much for joining us today, and congratulations to the court for all the work that you've done. And we hope that you can be having more RRIs, this kind of weeks, so that you speed up the cases.
There are a few more slated for this year.
Good. Justice Nzioki Omakao is from the Employment and Labour Relations Court. He's been here telling us about this court and what work it's done over the last 10 years. Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
The news at
Good morning, this is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto is expected to start the tour of Kisii, Nyamira and Migori counties. According to State House spokesperson Hussein Mohammed, the president is expected to inspect various development projects before launching others. While in Kisii County, the president will launch the repair of the 33.3 kilometers Gekano Rigoma Amabuko Road, the Nyabohanse Kamwamu and Nyaburu Oboke Ragwe roads. He will then launch the Kegati water project before heading to the neighboring county of Nyamira, where he will officially launch a house construction project in Seronga area.
The President will inspect and commission several projects in line with the government's bottom-up economic transformation agenda. During his tour of the region, the President will launch the upgrading of the 33.3-kilometer Gekano Rigoma Amabuko Road, the upgrading of the Nyabohanse Kumumwamu Road, and Nyaburu Oboke Ragwe roads. President Ruto will also commission the Kagati water project in Kisii. Throughout the tour, the working trip, he will hold several meetings with the people, of course, and the leadership of the region.
An autopsy report has revealed that William Mayenga, the third-year Maseno University student who was allegedly shot dead by police during the nationwide Azimio la Umoja One Kenya protest Monday, died out of a bullet injury. Dr. Nixon Mchana, Western Region's forensic pathologist, said the bullet entered Mayenga's body via the neck, thereby affecting the spinal cord and leading to his death. Evelyn Miruka, the deceased mother, said the family has agreed to transfer Mayenga's body from Capitec Mission Hospital morgue in Maseno to their home in Kisii to enable the family begin burial arrangements. Government spokesperson Hussein Mohammed said the police are investigating the matter.
Police issued a statement and they were very clear that they restrained themselves on Monday. And of course, on the issue of the alleged shooting at Maseno, the police are investigating the matter.
This as the Maseno University students' leadership has refuted claims that their slain colleague died while taking part in the Azimio protest. Student Union Chairperson Kevin Omolo says he was shot while crossing the road.
The police issued some contradicting statements which were contrary to whatever happened in Maseno University. There was no comrade who was shot in a police station. There was no comrade who was shot during a demo to a police force. In Maseno University, we have college campus and we have Seriba campus. In between, there is a road which is the Busia Road. You have to cross the Busia Road while you are going from one campus to the other. The comrade was shot by a police officer whom we know very well, and the government must come and give us justice that we deserve.
Now, the probe into the controversial buyout of Telecom Kenya has taken a new twist after former Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani revealed that the government is now the majority shareholder. Yatani, speaking when he appeared before the parliamentary committee probing the buyout, said that contrary to claims that the government paid and did not receive the shares from Helios Limited, all the transfer documents are at the National Treasury.
And as we are talking, all the original signed, approved documents, including the share and the custody of the National Treasury, is no longer with Helios, is no longer with, because government, National Treasury is now the 100% shareholder. The National Treasury is in possession of the share certificate. What has not been done, and it has not been done because the board, as directed by National Treasury, did not meet because they did not have a quorum. So the records at the registrar of companies might not have changed.
He went ahead to challenge the current Treasury CS, Professor Njuguna Ndungu, to make the public the documents. Now, the Ministry of Health says it is on high alert and has heightened surveillance at all border points following the declaration of an outbreak of Marburg virus disease in neighboring Tanzania. In a statement, Acting Health Director General Dr. Patrick Amoth said the ministry has directed all county health officials to be vigilant for any suspect cases for proper and timely management, while underscoring the dangers of the untreatable virus, which has so far claimed 5 lives in Tanzania. Amoth said that the ministry would remain vigilant to ensure all regions bordering affected areas have good surveillance. And North Rift leaders are now asking President William Ruto to strengthen the operation against cattle rustlers to ensure the safety of the residents of those areas. This after another person was killed in Murukutu area in Elgeyo-Marakwet County in an attack in which 60 lives were stolen, while another was killed in Kosile and Kakong area in Turkana County. The leaders have also asked President Ruto to compel the Inspector General of Police, Japheth Koome, to order the police officers and those of the KDF to enter forests to face aggressors instead of staying in their camps. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
It's coming in hot on Magadi Road this morning, and it's flooded right outside the Multimedia University. Cars are moving very slowly. Langata Road traffic has started just past Bomas. So imagine that, Bomas all the way through to the roundabout, or what used to be the roundabout at around Timor. Imara Daima is water. We're looking at water also. Ooh, what is this? Just General Motors, this is an absolute mess. I don't even know how people are going to get out of this one. Kiambu Road, going towards the Thika Superhighway, is also crazy. Avoid Juja Road today if you can. Folks are not sticking to the highway. Folks are trying to find the alternate route and get away from the highway, which is clogged. And there it is. We're looking at Mombasa Road today. It's a video of water. I don't know how people are going to get out of this one today. It's moving very, very slowly. In the parts where it's actually moving, it's folks who are trying to navigate through the floods. Guys, talk to us. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Where are you stuck this morning? Where have you found a good route? Let's share and get folks moving along.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning and welcome to the third hour of The Situation Room. 7 minutes after 8. How you doing? Those watching us on KTN Home, asante sana for tuning in this and every morning. We are live on SpiceFM every weekday morning, Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Indeed, this is Kenya's biggest conversation. Also live streaming to the world on Twitter, on Facebook and YouTube, SpiceFM KE. If you don't catch our conversation, maybe you were driving to work and you had to get into work, or you had an early morning, or whatever happened, you can still catch the conversations later at your own convenience by going to our YouTube page, SpiceFM KE, and you'll find the various conversations that we've had since the beginning of time. And our time began 3.5 years ago. And also you can find them on Facebook as well. Have you thought of owning a home? You should have thought of owning a home a long time ago, but well, it's okay. It's never too late. Now, as you think of owning a home and you know about Two Rivers Mall, on your way to Ruaka, you can go into Two Rivers Mall. Centum Development has been putting up some beautiful apartments there, different kinds of apartments. Talk to them and they tell you how they can walk the journey with you to owning an apartment. Either it's a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, either duplexes in some cases. Just text the words Two Rivers to 22365. That's Two Rivers to 22365. We want to have a conversation now about children and elevating children from poverty through sustainable livelihood interventions. Joining us are two gentlemen. Caleb Munyoki is the manager of partnerships, Compassion International Kenya, and Julius Wairoma is a food security and livelihoods specialist at the same organization, Compassion International Kenya. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Karibuni sana to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are now seated on the hot seats of the Situation Room. Well, comfortable. It's been a wet morning in Nairobi. How are the roads this morning as you came here?
I came a bit early, so I didn't encounter any jam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was fine. It was a good drive to this place.
Yeah.
Yes.
Were you on tarmac throughout, or did you get into some puddles at some point?
Tarmac, the Ngong Road bypass, and then here.
Yeah. You had a smooth one.
Yes.
Caleb, for you?
Mine was pretty smooth, except for some traffic around the gates.
Yeah, that's what happens at the gates. And you know, the expressway is one giant, like we said, it's one giant gutter that's collecting all that rainwater and dumping it to the road below. And as we are seeing now in these places where General Motors, at Kenyatta Avenue roundabout, at Haile Selassie roundabout, at Westlands, it's really, really not a good situation for very many people. Now, we spoke earlier about children who are going to school. We'll be talking about children throughout this. So spare a thought for any pedestrian that you see on the way. Please do not splash water on them. Just slow down, pass the pedestrian, and then drive off if you're driving in a vehicle. It's all about courtesy. CT, why don't you do like that and welcome our guests with the day's proverb?
Yes. The whole of this week, we are proverbs from the country of Kenya. You've all heard of it. It's on the East African coast, capital Nairobi. It has 47 counties. Yes, that Kenya.
You're reminding us about Kenya. What Kenya is.
Well, some of our listeners may not know about Kenya, so this is actually for them, so that they understand.
Okay.
Because we are listened to from all over the globe. Okay? Crawling on hands and knees has never prevented anyone from walking upright.
Crawling on hands and knees has never prevented anyone from walking upright. Caleb, you look like you're thinking hard on this.
Yeah, I was just wondering, crawling on knees and hands, I imagine you're talking about children, so we have a responsibility to support them to eventually walk upright, and that's what we do at Compassion. We take care of babies from as early as 1 year up to the age of 22. We're working in 31 counties with over 100,000 participants in our program. We're working in partnership with churches. We have over 466 churches that we're partnering with. And our main business in Kenya from 1980 is to support these little ones who are crawling on knees and hands to eventually become fruitful, successful adults that are capable of not only leading the pack in the nation, but also fulfilling the dreams of their lives.
So that's a good interpretation of that proverb. But there are also people living with disabilities, right? And Julius, they could also be crawling on their hands and knees.
Yes. We've not we've not neglected them. We are an all-inclusive. We use an all-inclusive approach. Our programming actually targets the most vulnerable,
right,
in the society, in terms of the economic status and even in terms of their physical abilities. So we the kind of interventions we support them with are those that enable them now to be able to take their place in the society and provide for themselves.
So, if I listen to your definition, would you then say that someone's inability to provide for themselves could in essence is what cripples them as opposed to the physical impediments that they may actually have? That this inability to have what we like terming as empowerment and economic empowerment is actually the crippling factor. Would you say that is the situation?
Yes, I think that contributes a lot.
Yes.
The economic empowerment of the most vulnerable in the society. Because if you are not able to facilitate them to utilize the resources that they have to be able to provide for themselves, then they remain behind. They remain vulnerable. But if we harness the resources, we empower them to be able to recognize the resources that they have, and they are able to harness these resources to better their lives, then they are able to contribute to their betterment in the society.
Let me get traditional on this particular matter and look at our backgrounds, the traditional backgrounds. What is it in communities that made someone be looked up to be considered to be a worthwhile member of the community? What is it? What did you need to have? What did you need to do? What contribution did you need to make?
And I like their approach. Let's take it traditional a little. By default, in our communities, anybody who is contributing meaningfully to the society is seen as a key person in that community. The world over, children and people who are incapacitated in one way or the other are neglected. And in our country and many other countries, children and youth don't participate necessarily in building up the nation. They look at many budgets, either in organizations, in churches, and let's say an organization like Compassion where we are wholly dedicated to children and youth. Budgets primarily look at what adults have interest in. So building the ability and capacity of these young ones becomes paramount to create a society that's going to be pragmatic, dynamic, fruitful in the future. So this person becomes important in the society because we empower them through programs that make them capable of not only fending for themselves, but contributing meaningfully to the communities.
What kind of programs do you run at Compassion?
At Compassion, we run one seamless program where we take care of children, infants, as early as 1 year to around 3 years. Then they get into childhood, and we have a robust program for youths where we support youths.
When you say you take care, are you like a children's home?
We're not a children's home. We work in partnership with churches, 466 churches. So these children are taken care of in their homes. And we look at 4 areas. We look at their physical development, that means health and the like. We look at how they grow in education. We look at their spiritual outlook, and we also look at their socio-emotional, psychological, if so you wish. So in these 4 areas of development, if a child is taken care of properly, they end up becoming a fulfilled youth who is contributing meaningfully in the society. And in the youth program, we support the youths to have different tracks of ending well. So those that love sports, they get into sports. We have people who get into medicine, into education, teachers, pastors, and the like.
I don't get it still. Because so you are working with churches,
yes,
to support children who are in their homes with their parents.
Yeah.
What exactly are you doing?
Well, one, holistic parental outlook is important to us. So we have programs where we build the capacity of these churches to support caregivers that are in the program. Some of them look at, for example, people in Pokot, Samburu. They have not been exposed to what you can call holistic parental care for their children. So when we expose them to this type of care, they are able now to take care of their children who are at a disadvantaged position by not being exposed to what is probably in the modern day cities like here. So these parents take care of the children in their homes, but with information and the capacity that comes through the enabled church.
Give an example of a community. You've mentioned, Samburu.
We have
give an
so
example of a community and how your interventions come in from Compassion International, how you then work with a certain church and empowering the community.
I'll give an example of a place I've worked for a few years. That is Tiati. Everybody fears Tiati.
Why?
I don't know. Of course, banditry and that type of thing. The terrain, the weather is not pleasant. There's no sufficient food. Water is an issue. Transport, infrastructure, no internet out there. We've been in Tiati for 6 years now, and in Tiati we have 4,000 children or thereabout that are under sponsorship of 13 churches. We have seen children that were otherwise not going to attend school being in school, and the retention in school is very high because we support them through paying tuition fees, paying for their exposure trips, supporting them in books, uniform and the like. We've also intervened through this time of droughts. Some of them couldn't attend schools if we hadn't intervened through provision of food for several months in this drought season. The issue of malnutrition is really high in this area. A few of them, when we started partnership with them, health centers were an issue. So facilitating clinics, mobile medical clinics. Great work is happening in East Pokot. Interventions are high, and I'm persuaded beyond any dubitable reasons that in the near future we're going to have a new Tiati.
Probably would add to what Caleb has just said about our approach. We are now going beyond children and targeting the household where the child comes from. especially in terms of empowering the parents or the caregivers to be able to provide for the families. So with these approaches, we engage the families in various agricultural activities, income generating activities, and even building their capacity to be able to start businesses, giving them vocational training, entrepreneurship training, and also just supporting them to mentoring them to be able to do these businesses and provide for their family. So it is holistic.
Right.
But we start at the household level by promoting climate smart household food security approaches for them to be able to produce food even at times of drought or with when you have scarcity of water resources. Yes.
So, I mean, obviously, one of the things that Compassion then focuses on is sustainability of whatever it does, right?
Yes.
So, sustainability of a project whereby you're coming into a household and taking care of a child and making sure that child has fed, is taken care of medically, their spiritual as well as then socioeconomic elements being taken care of.
Yes.
But then that child is but a part of a larger unit.
Yes.
So the sustainability comes in. So do you find yourself year on year feeding this same child, or are you then feeding this child plus something else so that the parents then have capacity to be able to feed their children as well as themselves and take care moving forward? Because child could be fed, but then the family unit then still remains in jeopardy.
Actually, we moved beyond feeding the child. We are now working with the parents to be able to provide for the families, especially in terms of food. So what happens is that we engage them in different cultural activities. We have different approaches, particularly those ones that target households. In the rural areas, for instance, we promote kitchen gardens where they are able to produce foods in small spaces near their homes, so that they don't spend the income that they have on buying food. And then now that's a way of mitigating against just making them dependent. So they are no longer dependent because the parents now have the ability to be able to feed them throughout. So what normally happens in terms of emergencies like the recent drought, that's when you now come in and provide support in terms of providing food baskets, just very temporary food baskets, and then cash transfers, and also seed inputs such as seeds to help them come up immediately after those emergencies, and also improving on the water infrastructures, developing water infrastructure, so that now after such an emergency they're able to pick up and just continue sustaining their lives.
Well, listening to you, I actually get the impression I'm listening to a Kenya government minister.
Thanks for the compliment.
It's like someone in the Ministry of Education is saying, well, we've allocated this amount of money for capitation for this school, and we've also assisted in the building of X classrooms, and we've made sure that they have small kitchen gardens so that they can actually grow crops while learning agriculture. They can feed themselves, and we've developed a water pan so that they can actually collect rainwater.
Then you sound like the president.
Now, I'm going somewhere with this, as I usually do. How long has Compassion International been doing the work that you're doing? And in terms of the effectiveness of what you have done, if you were to be asked about a success story, and alongside the success story, one would ask the challenges you've had that have reduced the successes that you had envisioned, what would you say is the picture of success? Over the years, the plan you had, what you've done, how it has helped, and the outcome, but where you started.
Yeah, the picture of success is a household that previously was so vulnerable, very poor, of low economic status, being able to feed themselves, being able to engage in economic activities and generate income, to be able to support various household activities. So yes, so that is basically what we are working with the households to achieve. Yeah.
That's a generic statement. Now, give it a real life picture. When I take the example of a family that was disadvantaged economically, what then happened in details to enable them to move from this position where they can now feed themselves? What happened? What were they doing? And this process that you call, what is it that they are now able to do that they were not previously able to do?
Yeah, let me take that. Thank you for the compliments. We work very closely with the county governments and the national government and other like-minded organizations. And on your question, and I invite you to come with me one day to Baringo. We have a community, we call it the Kibingo.
How will we travel to Baringo?
We'll make the logistics for you.
You won't crawl.
You need to come in person.
You need to be sure. They might tell me that because of the prevailing economic circumstances, I have to go by camel or something.
At some point, maybe we'll do a desert camel.
Yes.
There's a community, it's called Kibingor, the Kibingor community. They have a lot of honey. They used to sell the honey out to the middlemen at very, throwaway price, bringing very minimal economic value to the families. So we mobilized the community. We supported them in doing a honey processing unit. As we're talking today, every day they bring honey to the city and many other towns in the city, in the country. Now, this honey is coming from the households. Those households have been taught on how, or trained on how to do beekeeping in a modern way. When they harvest this honey and it's put together collated together at the church, then they fetch better prices. And so the economic situation in the family is improved. So situations where they could not access medical, they could not access a meal, they could not access school for the other children, school fees, these families are now empowered and they are on a fast track towards transformation.
So the bee farmers have a cooperative.
Yes.
And that cooperative is nestled within a church setting.
Yes.
Yes.
So has the middleman been cut out?
Probably
the community has become the middleman, essentially. Yeah.
How do you determine that the person they then sell the honey to gives them the best possible returns for their product?
What I would say, maybe let me just give the structure, because we start at the lowest level. We have these community members that we are targeting. We organize them into self-help groups, depending on their interest. So the example we've given of beekeepers, people who have been engaged in beekeeping activities are brought together. Here they are trained and they are supported with startup inputs and equipment to start off. After production cycle and after generating income, with the training that we have given them, they are able now to continue expanding, scaling up their production. By buying the equipment and other inputs, so that they are able to continue generating income from that. Regarding the issue of the middleman, what we normally do, we link them with markets, the buyers. So the buyers will say what type of produce do they need. For example, do they need raw honey? Do they need semi-processed? Do they need packaged? Like the Kibingor community is mentioning, they're already packaging and branding. So that is the demand of the market that we link them to. There are some buyers who just prefer semi-processed. In that case, some of the equipment that we've supported them with are the centrifuges, just to ensure that they don't sell raw products. So we have activities to do with the market linkage, which ensure that we eliminate the middlemen, so that they're dealing with the real buyers and they get value for their good value for their produce.
Okay. Now, the advancement or the improvement in the economic status, how is this manifested? Are people building better houses? Are they wearing shoes where they didn't wear shoes? Have they more clothes than they used to have before? What is it that now
You can do.
Yes. They can do that they couldn't do before.
Most of the caregivers we are working with, or the parents we are working with in the community, have enhanced their social economic status. Of course, you're talking about better houses. They're able to access medical facilities. They're able to pay school fees for their children. And they're also getting better meals. They're having higher income. So their status in the society is elevated.
Now, the question that I'd asked earlier on, the numbers, in terms of how old is Compassion International in the country?
40 years.
40 years.
Yes.
Okay, now in the 40 years,
yes,
the success stories that we have, do you have individuals whom you can point to and who can say,
several.
If it wasn't for Compassion International, I would not be.
There are actually, we are working with 120,000 households. If we are to estimate, we are targeting 840,000 individuals. Yes.
Okay.
So I would work with a percentage of at least 60%.
That number can actually win you the governor's seat in Nairobi.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we hear the impact story of what Compassion International Kenya has been doing over the last 40 years, especially looking at how you are impacting the children by working in their community, impacting children. Of course, the areas that you talked about physical, you talked about education, spiritual, and psychological. So you'll show us the impact of what you're doing, Kibingora and wherever, on how it has actually translated into this. Time for us to take a break. Caleb Ndu would call you Caleb. She went to preparatory and kindergarten.
She attended school.
And then elementary school.
And then finishing school.
I went to Kimana Primary School and Kimana Nursery School. So I'll call you Caleb. Caleb Munyoki is a manager of partnerships at Compassion International Kenya. Julius Wairoma is a food security and livelihood specialist at Compassion International. Ndu, please tell Julius and Caleb about Minute Maid.
I need a break from you. Okay, so Minute Maid gives you an opportunity to take a moment and say, okay, it's been a minute, it's been rough. Can we just take a moment and recalibrate? Can we take a moment and just have an moment? Through all the fantastic flavors that Minute Maid has on offer, you get an opportunity to take a gulp and take a moment to relax.
Indeed, 27 minutes to 9. Time for us to take that break and time for you to send a message to 22365. The message should read 2 rivers. Those 2 words, 2 rivers to 22365. Then Centum Real Estate will get back to you and tell you about the developments that they're putting up at 2 Rivers, around the 2 Rivers Mall, the largest mall in Eastern Central Africa. It's got hotels in there, it's got a hospital in there, it's got large parking spaces, it has a food court, it has a retail center, it has children's play area, and then in the neighborhood, there are apartments that are being put up by Centum Real Estate. You want to buy one? Text the words 2 Rivers to 22365. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Are you looking for your dream home or the perfect plot of land to build on? Look no further than Digger Real Estate, the e-commerce site for all your real estate needs. From cozy apartments to sprawling estates, we have a wide selection of houses for rent and for sale. And if you're looking to build from scratch, we have prime plots of land available for purchase. Don't settle for anything less than your ideal home. Head to realestate.digger.co.ke today to start your search. Digger Real Estate, where your dream home becomes a reality.
Can you dig it?
The sun is peeking through those clouds in Nairobi at 16. It's sunny now. Highs of 23 and lows of 14. Sunny at 17 in Nakuru. Highs of 24 and we'll see highs of 25 in a sunny Nyeri at 17. It's sunny at 15 in Eldoret, highs of 21 and lows of 13, and the sun is up at 28 in Mombasa. It's up at 29 in Malindi, 20 and sunny in Kisumu, going to highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 25 in Eldoret. Looking into Kampala, light rain continues at 21, highs of 24 and lows of 18, and it's partly sunny at 26 in Dar es Salaam, highs of 29, 13 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 23, and it's partly cloudy in Lagos at 25. We'll see highs of 33. 30 will be the high in a rainy Kinshasa, currently at 24.
Chilled Spice.
All right, so looking just a tad better in certain parts of the city. It's still heavy coming off Lunga Lunga. It's going to go out through towards the Likoni interchange, touching on the southern bypass. It's still absolutely crazy on Langata Road. We're still seeing traffic trickling in on Magadi Road and then out towards the Bomas of Kenya. This is where traffic starts on Langata Road today, so that doesn't look pretty. So just going to watch out for that. Southern bypass, of course, has a little bit of a backlog because folks are trying to get down Langata Road, so that's going to stop you. So with the sun trying to shine through, maybe we'll see a drying up of some of those, or at least releasing of some of those puddles with the rain having stopped. We're still looking at heavy traffic on the Thika Superhighway. It's coming all the way past Tusker Village now, and they're likely to continue for some time. And look at that. That is Limuru Road coming out from Ruaka all the way through United Nations Avenue. It's slow this morning. We're still in traffic hour. Let's see what it looks like in a short while. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
From Compassion International Kenya, and that's Caleb Munyoki from Compassion International. He's a manager of partnerships, and Julius Wairoma is a food security and livelihood specialist. We are talking about how they are actually helping to improve the livelihoods of children from poverty and elevating them from poverty through sustainable livelihood interventions. And you were telling us about the impact. So yeah, Caleb, you talked about what you focus on those areas. You look at the physical well-being of a child. You look at how they are able to get into education and how they are able to also get spiritual nourishment, how they also get psychosocial support. So from all these projects that you've told us about, I mean, the areas that you've gone in, the communities that you've gone in, what's the impact like?
Well, a great question and a big question this morning. Singling out the fact that we have 130,000 participants in the country, and we have those that have already gone through the program. In terms of medical support, I would bring examples of children that have had paid up medical expenses for otherwise diseases that would have taken their lives. We're talking of heart diseases. We've taken in excess of, in hundreds actually, for specialized treatment. And availed opportunity for them to live a normal life. We're talking of supporting those that have been born with inabilities, and we take them through medical procedures. The numbers are so many. In terms of education, we spend every year in excess of, I would say, 10 million shillings to ensure retention of the 130,000 participants in school. We support the participants also to choose careers that are interested for them, and we support them through enabling them access schools, whether they are in remote places or in the urban setup. We support them through getting into colleges that will offer careers and specialized trainings for them to achieve their dreams. And of course, matters spiritual. We are in a church setup. Some of these participants will hardly go to church, but because of the programs we run and in partnership with these churches, these participants find themselves coming to church. Train a child in the way it should be when they are young, and when they grow old, they will not leave from that training. So, in communities, for example, I mentioned Tiati earlier, one of the interventions I believe that we are doing that will bring a different generation is in training those young children and youths to be Christians, so that in the future they will treat their neighbors the way they would want to be treated. I believe this is one of the greatest strands in ending of the banditry attacks in the area. And when we look at the ability of the children to, or the young adults as they grow, to interact with other people in a reasonable, in a compassionate manner, the fact that you're exposing the child at a very tender age into behaviors, into understandings that are, I would say, rationally good for a normal citizen, means that we are participating in a great way in impacting our nation towards a good neighborhood. That's what I would say.
I'm looking for the sustainability angle. In some cases, so you are running a program that attracts these children to come to church, and then in church is where you are going to engage them. You're spending 10 million shillings a year to support them to stay in school and to continue learning. Where is the sustainability? What if compassion actually just walked out of this community? How would they be able to sustain these things that you're doing?
Actually, that's why we are focusing on caregiver empowerment, empowering the parents to be able to provide for their households economically through training them and supporting them to start up economic activities on their own at household level. So what happens is that we have the parents coming into groups and they identify enterprises that they would want to undertake. Some of them are crop enterprises, some are livestock enterprises, some are non-agricultural enterprises. And we support them with the training and the startup inputs and equipment, and we engage them, and link them with the markets. Okay. So even when this support from compassion ends, if they continue, engaging in these entrepreneurial activities, they'll be able to sustain themselves. They'll be able to provide for their households.
Is there a community that you can tell us where Compassion International worked in this community for 15 years and then walked out or scaled back its support in the community, and the community is still doing the things that they were trying to do?
Yeah, we have quite a number, scattered all over the country, and probably I would just give an example. Even Nairobi here, we have several communities that we worked with. After their children phase out, because the children phase out of compassion when they are 22 years. Okay. They are able to sustain their own economic activities based on the foundation that we've given them. So we don't just focus on the child alone. As we engage these parents on these economic activities, they just improve their income, and we put in measures, different measures. For example, we have savings groups where they are able to borrow, contribute money and borrow. So
I like visual examples. If you could just give one and say,
yes,
in this community we worked over 10 years.
Yes.
These children grew up to become adults, but then the adults that we work with, the younger children, we did not need to support them because the adults already knew to take the children to church, so they were getting their spiritual nourishment. They had the capacity to grow food, so they could feed their children. They could also take their children to school. Such.
Yeah, maybe if I can give one or two examples. And of course, there are the challenges that we face in terms of when we put so much in developing a community, but yet we have other factors that hinder us from going as fast and achieving our intent. But if I give the example of the community of Kanzino, it's
in Kitui,
in Momoni. I've seen caregivers there having farms. They are able to sell crops in the market, and their lives are getting changed. They have a model school where they also getting very good results from the participants in the program. Pastor Mutia there, I saw the other day, they've done a mega church. This is a community that is developing, and it's a community we can confidently say in the near future they are going to be influencers of the larger Momoni. Yeah.
How do you decide what communities then that you go into to work? Is there a footprint of the nation and say, well, here we'll have vulnerable communities. We're likely to find children in vulnerable family situations where they can't feed. What informs the decision to go into a particular community and then start the work there?
Yeah, the first issue here, we exist as advocates for children to release them from poverty in Jesus' name. So the first indicator is poverty, and we look at the country's poverty index. So we, in places where poverty is at levels where it makes the communities be vulnerable in terms of development. So you'll find us in pockets where the poverty index is on the higher side. That's the major indicator. Yeah.
Okay. So partnerships. Sorry, Siti, go on.
I was going to ask, when you talk about partnerships and you talk about the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful work that you do, what would you do if we had this imaginary situation where there was no poverty in Kenya and people who needed to be uplifted economically did not exist? What would you do?
Very good question, and that's our hope, that one day we'll get to that level.
Actually, the people we are dealing with are the progressive poor, not the people who are just, they're helpless. So they are moving away from poverty. But in terms of empowerment, for example, those who are already engaged in businesses, we are bringing in soft skills such as entrepreneurship, linking them to markets so that they are able to compete. Yeah, so we are moving from that place where somebody is so vulnerable, a household is so vulnerable, to a situation whereby they are moving towards prosperity. So actually, if you look at the profile of the households we are dealing with now, they are not that helpless because of the empowerment programs that we have involved them in. So they're at that level that they can determine. They can sit as a committee and decide this is what we want to do. We've saved this money in our savings group. This is what we are going to direct it towards this project. Or we have this amount of money for you to borrow and start your own business or expand your own business. So I think we are moving towards even targeting those who are already moved away from that lower rank.
Does compassion work in developed countries, places where one could argue some of these endemic situations of poverty that we witness on this continent and in Asia don't exist? Do you work in such places?
As I earlier alluded, our major work is where poverty is.
No, I'm arguing that there's poverty everywhere. Yes. You see where I'm coming from?
Yes.
I've understood what you're saying, but I'm looking at it and saying there is no place on the planet where there is no poverty. So there's a lot more poverty in certain parts of the world, like on this continent of ours. And I understand you're working there. But what about communities that are actually very poor, but are in resource plenty countries? Do you work in such places?
I'll look at it in terms of the numbers of the affected people.
Okay.
And I like the argument that we have communities where the country is well resourced, but there's a small community that is living in poverty. Compare that number to the current situation in Africa. It's humongous. It's only fair to invest where we get returns in terms of the people we affect. So we're working in countries where the poverty index is high and we have large populations and communities that are living in poverty.
Okay. Now, let me ask this sensitive question. When we talk about working in partnership with governments, we know how governments are resourced. We pay taxes. So that one is clear. Okay? How are you resourced? And how much of those resources are local? As in, if you're working in Kenya, how much of the resources that you work with are actually generated locally?
Yeah. When I said earlier that we work in partnership with the local governments and the county governments and the national government. And of course, looking at resources, I'm not looking at money only. I'm looking at people. I'm looking at professional intervention.
You're talking about human resource.
Human resource.
Yes.
A case like Tiati, when compassion facilitates a community to be together and ask a medical intervention from the government, that's a local resource. And what compassion has done in such a case is use the available platform, educate and empower the community on the importance of medical interventions, and arranged for the county government and the national government to do a medical intervention for the local community. So we work both with the government in terms of the resources and facilitate ensuring that these resources reach the disadvantaged communities.
Do you participate in the budget making process? So that you ensure that, for example, it's not just an intervention in terms of a medical camp, it's the establishment of a proper health facility in a certain community that didn't have a health facility, ensuring that there's adequate resourcing of this health facility, from the health workers to all the materials that are needed. So that would require that you actually participate in the budget making cycle to influence that this takes place. There's allocation of budget and it goes on. Do you do that?
Maybe what I would say regarding livelihoods, what you've encouraged our partners to do is to work closely with government. So they sit in those committees at that level, because we are spread across the country. So at the county level, we encourage them to attend those meetings so that when needs are being prioritized, their needs are taken care of. And also we avoid duplication, where we are spending on an initiative and government also is spending on an initiative. So when there's an initiative that we would like to take to intervene in, and the government is planning for it, we just say that at that level that we already have this project ongoing, and they just give us an opportunity to do it. So we complement government efforts, but not only government, we also work closely with other development organizations in any particular locality. So what we encourage our partners to do is to reach out to all the development organizations and find out what they are doing, have meetings so that we just maximize on the synergies.
Sure.
Yes, so that we give the best using minimal resources and not heaping resources, doing the same thing every organization, because it's not a competition, we just complement one another. And then we're also working very closely with the corporates, the private sector, tapping into their CSR. So when they're interested in a particular initiative, we also reach out to them and just tap into their resources so that they're also part of this development process.
Okay, so let's say you've gone into community and then you've done the initial work that needs to be done, identification, and then going ahead and facilitating at whatever level that you do. How then do you monitor over time? Because you said that, look, it would be your joy at some point to say that there are no longer any communities where you have to go in and intervene. But then in order to get there must be some kind of, it's going to sound so NGO-ish, but it's some monitoring and evaluation that takes place to say, okay, this is where we have reached, the interventions that we've put in place are actually working. So what does that monitoring look like, and how do you carry that out for progress?
We have a robust monitoring and evaluation reporting and learning system where we have periodic reports coming from our partners just to update us on the progress. We also do monitoring visits. We do regular field visits to see how the interventions are being implemented and give technical support in terms of seeing how these activities can be improved to better their lives. We also have periodic evaluations. Every cycle of reporting, which is 6 months, we do an evaluation just to give us an overall picture of what is going on there. We also have various forms of documentation, photos, videos, just to have a picture of what is happening around the country. Yeah, so and our monitoring is participatory. We have a multidisciplinary team coming from the national office to visit the sites and just engage with the communities and assess the progress of implementation and also advise accordingly. Yeah, so, and also we work closely with, as we had said, the county government. They also support us in that, in those processes. So we engage them. And the most important part of it, which ensures sustainability, is that you have the community themselves also participating in the monitoring process because they have committees there. So it is not a situation where we come and then we work with them.
Right.
Yes.
How do you mobilize the resources that you use? How does Compassion mobilize the resources that it's using to support its programs?
Thank you. We are registered in the country as an NGO. We have our senior partners in Colorado, US. They are part of the great resource that we have. Locally here, when we doing projects, say that are done by the county government or the national government, we align our resources to make sure that, as my colleague said, there's no duplication. Churches also, we mobilize resources through churches. They're locally available resources that probably don't need as much funds. Say, for example, if we are doing a classroom in Makueni, where sand is available, stones are available, water is available, those are resources that we mobilize right from the church. And then the technical expertise, some churches have members that are doctors, architects, engineers, who will tap into that resource in a situation where we are doing a project for that church.
I see. Final question, CT? 30 seconds?
You've asked it.
That's the one you wanted to ask?
I was going to ask
That's the one. Okay. So currently you have 130,000 participants.
And adding.
And adding.
Sure.
And you said your target is 800.
If you are looking at individuals, it comes to 840,000 because you have 120,000 households.
Households that are actually participating in how many counties?
31 counties. And in the 31 counties, we have a partnership facilitator. This is a person who is in touch with the churches 24/7. He understands the community. They work closely with the community, and they also participate in supporting needs identification and also in the process of monitoring and evaluation.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you very much for all the good work that you're doing. Thank you for coming here to let us know about it and to tell the public as well. Asante sana for all the good work in releasing children from the shackles of poverty through sustainable livelihood interventions. That's what Compassion International Kenya has been doing, and Caleb Munyoki, the manager of partnerships, as well as Julius Wairoma, who's a food security and livelihood specialist, have been here with us talking to us about this. Keep it here for more conversations. Those who've been watching us on KTN Home, asante sana for watching. The conversation continues on SpiceFM across the country, or you can catch the show that's live streaming on YouTube and Facebook, SpiceFM KE. Good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
The news are the MVP.
Good morning, this is News. I am Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto officially appointed all the 50 nominees who were picked for various chief administrative secretary positions, while the 50 CS nominees were expected to undergo vetting. State spokesperson Hussein Mohammed said the Speaker of the National Assembly referred back to the head of state, noting that the August House has no constitutional authority to vet the CAS nominees, following the referral by the Speaker of the National Assembly, which has found that there is no constitutional or statutory basis upon which the August House can vet the nominees. disease. The head of state has effectively appointed the nominees to various ministries as earlier notified. Now, the Ministry of Health says it is on high alert and it has heightened surveillance at all border points following the declaration of an outbreak of Marburg virus disease in neighboring Tanzania. In a statement, Acting Health Director General Dr. Patrick Amoth said the ministry has directed all county health officials to be vigilant for any suspected cases for proper and timely management, while underscoring the dangers of the untreatable virus which has so far claimed 5 lives in Tanzania. Amoth said the ministry will remain vigilant to ensure all regions bordering affected areas have good surveillance. Now, Kenya National Examination Council has been blamed for being heavily involved in the theft of national examinations. These stakeholders in the education sector want the council to be investigated and dissolved if found guilty. Speaking at the Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology during a meeting with the National Assembly's Education Committee on the exam theft allegations, Kuppet questioned the integrity of NEC officials and claimed that they are contributing greatly to exam fraud in the country.
Examination leakage begins from Kenya National Examination Council itself. We wish and recommend that NEC leadership should be totally overhauled because exam cannot reach outside until it has been removed from NEC.
Before they engage anybody in NEC, they should be vetted so that they should be proven that they are morally upright.
Natboska Kakamega County Patrick Chungani has asked NEC to increase teacher salaries in charge of exams as one of the ways in dealing with fraud.
Kenya National Examination Council ichunguze sana malipo ya walimu wakati wanafanyisha mitihani. Center managers wanalipo shilingi 500 peke yake for the last 10 years. Police officers who engage in security examinations wanalipo shilingi 410. Invigilators na walimu wengine katika mashule wanalipo 430. Those are peanuts. Hawezi kuwa na moyo wa kulinda mitihani wakati wanafanya. And that is a source of leakage all over the country. These people are not paid, and yet NEC has a lot of money to ensure that teachers are given what is due them.
And the probe into the controversial buyout of Telecom Kenya has taken a new twist after former Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani revealed that the government is now the majority shareholder. Yatani, speaking when he appeared before the parliamentary committee probing the buyout, said that contrary to claims that the government paid and did not receive the shares from Helios Limited, all the transfer documents are at the National Treasury. He went ahead to challenge the current Treasury CS, Professor Njuguna Ndungu, to make public the documents.
And as we are talking, all the original signed, approved document, including the share and the custody of the National Treasury, is no longer with Helios, is no longer with, because government, National Treasury is now the 100% shareholder. The National Treasury is in possession of the share certificate. What has not been done, and it has not been done because the board, as directed by National Treasury, did not meet because they did not have a quorum. So the records at the registrar of companies might not have changed.
An autopsy report has revealed that William Mayenga, the third-year Maseno University student who was allegedly shot dead by police during the nationwide Azimio la Umoja 1 Kenya protest Monday, died out of a bullet injury. Dixon Mchana, Western Region's forensic pathologist, said the bullet entered Mayenga's body via the neck, thereby affecting the spinal cord and leading to his death. Evelyn Miruka, the deceased's mother, said the family has agreed to transfer Mayenga's body from Coptic Mission Hospital Mogit Maseno to their home in Kisii to enable the family begin burial arrangements. Government spokesperson Hussein Mohammed said that the police are investigating the shooting. This as Maseno University student leadership refuted the claims that their slain colleague died while taking part in Azimio protest. Student Union chairperson Kevin Omolo says he was shot while crossing the road. This is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, we're looking at traffic on the Thika Superhighway this morning. It's getting out still pretty heavy into the CBD. There's a mishmash of traffic, quite a lot of it. Still coming off Thika Road, still coming off of Kiambu Road. Look at James Gishuru crossing over to the Red Hill Link Road, and there's traffic coming off Lower Kabete. Absolute mess still continues there. It's dealing with the after effects of the morning rain and will be there for some time. All right, North Airport Road heading out towards Outer Ring and then crossing over from what's coming off of Embakasi. Still pretty heavy this morning. So we're still in traffic hour, likely to be there for another hour or so. Let's keep an eye on things and see how it progresses. Talk to us through the morning on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
What's up? How you doing? It's the final hour of the show today. It's Thursday, the 23rd day of March,
What are you doing?
2023.
The guy is feeling elated.
Clearly.
Yes.
What's the problem?
I'm okay.
He has listened and thought and seen, hiya, Friday is here. And because Friday is here, I have reason to be happy.
Sina budi ila.
He's happy as though Monday will not come after.
Sina what?
Budi.
He doesn't
Sina
have
booty.
He doesn't
You don't
have
have
booty.
booty.
Got a booty. Hey. City.
Yes, please.
What is that proverb from Kenya again?
Oh, the one from the country which has a coast, East Africa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Crawling on hands and knees has never prevented anyone from walking upright.
Crawling on hands and knees has never prevented anyone from walking upright.
Yes.
The interpretations that I've had today are touching on future. Like, you may be down today.
Doesn't mean you can. You need not be down indefinitely. And there's an opportunity for you to elevate yourself, move from that position, from not just downtrodden position, to one, yes, where you are not downtrodden.
Utauona mkono wake Bwana.
Yes.
Utauona. Chini, 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 chini. Watu mainua.
This is all one song.
You know, you have to be happy for your brother.
Yeah.
When he recalls his days in the school choir, you really have to be joyful. Make a joyful noise.
Kabisa. Unto the Lord.
Yes. All you people.
Wait, Ndu.
Yes.
Please get onto the social media.
Okay.
And show us these photos. And I don't know.
Yay.
That's just part one.
Ednah,
of many.
Ednah, if you can show turn camera 4 onto the screen. This is okay. Where was this?
So this is Old
Situation
Mombasa
on
Road.
Mombasa Road.
You know where
This is near GM.
So Old Mombasa Road, right? So behind here, actually just here, the road that leads you towards ICD. Okay? Do you understand now where
where would you?
At City Cabanas.
No. Here, ICD here. So there's General Motors behind.
So right at General Motors and oh my goodness.
Let me explain to you what happened. While the road was being constructed, the expressway, there was certain parts of the lower road then that were dealt with properly. Because if you look here, I don't know if you can see where you can't, because so can you see there's your bridge, right?
Yeah,
this is the expressway.
You can use the mouse.
I could. So here's your expressway right here.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is Mombasa Road. Here is that road that used to be Thank you. Libra House?
Yes.
Just behind there, the road that used to be there. So now what we have is Lake Libra. And this is people who are going to work this morning or going about their business this morning. Can you imagine? Had to take off their shoes and are knee deep in water because there was a lot of earth that was removed from this area, and unfortunately it was filled with nothing. And so when the rain has come, it has filled that. Okay? Just in case you think that that is the only area this morning where there was some issue because, the expressway was constructed, let me take you to Enterprise Road. Now, this is a perfect example of what we're talking about. All right? Can you see where we are now?
So this is Enterprise. This is the junction at between the highway and Enterprise Road.
Yes.
At Imara Daima.
At Imara Daima.
No, before the Imara.
before
General
the
Motors.
Imara
At General Motors, just
Right
before
there
the
at
bridge,
General
at the
Motors.
stage.
Okay. So this is what's happening here. This is this thing that's supposed to be around about whatever that is business that was closed.
And
now
then
here
the
you
Enterprise Road. So Enterprise Road is basically flooded.
This is Enterprise Lake.
The entrance into Enterprise Road is a lake now. Even that triangle is also flooded.
Yes, it is.
And this is where you have a bus stop. So anybody who's coming from Enterprise Road, from industrial area, and they want to get onto Mombasa Road,
Has to be here.
This is where they have to come and board a
But
matatu.
Eric, is there really a bus stop in that place?
Past this area, past what we are seeing, the next thing is that bus stop.
It's a bus stop.
Where we have now going into the bridge, into the railway bridge.
I know what you're saying.
And this
buses, I'm saying buses,
stop
there.
It's not a designated bus stop.
Bus stop because
it's
there
actually
is
the
none.
acceleration lane from Enterprise Road.
Yes.
As you accelerate into Mombasa Road, that's where matatus stop. It's flooded. But this is where people are expected by Kenya National Highways Authority and the authorities to board a matatu. And you can see what's happening. And this is also where they're expected to come and cross over and get onto the footbridge to go to the other side if you want to go to the side of Libra House.
Now, let me just use the mouse again and point out. You see, everybody is actually getting off or getting on somewhere.
Yeah.
Look at these people here. They're waiting for a matatu. Look at this matatu right here. It's actually boarding passengers in the middle of traffic.
Yep.
Because at this rate, where are they going to stop?
There's nowhere else.
There's nowhere to stop. There's nowhere to stop. Look at this lady in blue right here. She said, you know what? I got to get where I'm going.
Border guy and
take off your shoes, trying to walk, because what are you going to do? Look at this border right here. Has said, you know what? We need to go. We are going to get into this water. We don't know what's on the other end of it, but we're going to get in because we need to move, right? Okay. That is what is going on there. Stand up for some more pictures. Okay.
There are more pictures that we've seen also on Uhuru Highway, and this is at the Nyeri House roundabout. Same stuff. So it's a lake in the middle of the road. If a small vehicle gets in there and then it stalls in the middle of the road, Kwisha. So traffic police are basically the ones who are also trying to come in, wade into the water. So traffic cops are getting onto the road, into the water, to help push stalled vehicles from the road. Here's what we're looking at. So below the expressway,
there's a picture of it right there.
There. This is it. This is at Nyeri House.
Yes.
So coming from Serena, getting to Nyeri House, this gentleman has decided, okay, I was going to work. Let me just fold my trousers. Let me remove my shoes. Let me get into the water because I need to go where I was going. There's a lady who's on the other end of the road. She's wondering, okay, what am I going to do? She's negotiating with her brain, not with anybody else.
Not with anybody else.
What do we do? Because we have to cross.
You know, the conversations that we had regarding Mombasa Road for the longest time possible, when we're talking about, okay, all this damage that was done in the name of a good thing, as in building the expressway, what needed then to be done? Talking about a place where pedestrians could walk, talking about stormwater drainage. But then we took it further and said, before the rains come, is it possible, even as we wait for these mega projects of dams, to build water pans? All you need to do is dig up earth. That's what it is. Put some surfacing that will help retain the water. It's not complicated. Now, the rains are here. All this water that you see, where do you think this water is going? Could this water have been used? Of course it could be used. Is it useful? Of course it is useful. But what do we see happening now? an opportunity was lost. Because the very thing that we kept talking about and saying, let's focus on what we can do. The country, all over the country, is going to be raining. Are we going to be seeing pictures of people who prepared for these rains and actually harvested it? Are we going to be seeing that even when other rains come, that preparedness will be there? Because what we seem to have as a matter of conversation on a daily basis is the politics of the country. Who said what? Who did what? Who went where? And yet the hungry continue going hungry. We now have the one resource that we're waiting for called rain, and we were not prepared to utilize it. Now this one has come. It's a deluge. It's coming in huge, huge quantities. Now, all the things that we complained about, all the things we wanted to do with it, are we prepared to utilize this resource that we're waiting for and put it to the use that we kept saying we needed it for? I dare say we're not.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so what is being collected in the wrong places, unfortunately, here? If you look at what's happening on Mombasa Road, the lower road then, which is a receptacle for the water that's coming from the upper road, as we've known it to be called today, is going to go to waste. It's going to be seeped up by the earth, and then, it's going to run off to wherever
it will run off into those rivers. It'll get into big river. It'll just go.
It's gone. Now, this is the thing. And, it's easy for us to sit here and say, well, this should have been done or that should have been done. But then let's ask ourselves, how easy or difficult would it have been to then, while the rain was being waited for, because we knew it was going to come, at whatever measure it would come, we knew that it was going to come, right? This rain. Even it was going to be heavy rain for a short period of time. But we're looking at the levels of water now. And this is large amounts of water. So the question is, would it have been very difficult to have put, receptacle areas in different parts? And I'm not even talking about Nairobi, because that's not looking at the different parts, because we looked at the water flowing into Marsabit, we looked at the water flowing into Laikipia just in these rains in the last few days. Would it have been possible to set up receptacle units with your large tap that is usually done and hold water for a short period of time? We can look at the destruction on one side and the huge, heavy inconvenience that then is wrought on the shoulders of many a Kenyan this morning who was going to work because of the fact that there was some nonchalance when it went towards sorting out the roads. And we can also look at the opportunity that is lost with the huge amounts of water that is going away with the rain.
The conversation about water pans is relevant. And we know, yes, over the years, there are areas where water pans have been constructed. The question about water pans comes with siltation and the maintenance of those, because water pans have actually been dug in various places across the country over the years. Then siltation comes in, because as you look at this, you're basically seeing it's topsoil being carried and being taken into whatever reservoir. However, I just want to come back into what people are experiencing, people are seeing. Look at these photos that have been posted by MCA Robert Elai. Where is this?
You went to bed last night, you woke up this morning in
Look
a
at
pond.
this. And this is all because of, number one, poor drainage facilities.
The siltation that you're speaking of, yes, and not ensuring that you keep rehabilitating the passages that were built to carry this water.
Yeah.
So the overflow is easy.
Yes, it's easy.
Yes.
It's direct. It comes into people's homes.
Yes.
This is happening in Nairobi. So poor drainage. If we just look at the highway, the expressway collects. The expressway is not flooding up there because it's very well done, and it has those pipes that bring water down.
Water comes down.
Yeah.
When the water gets down, it comes to the General Motors places and all these other junctions that we are finding. And this is where the chaos is. Now, in other areas where there is responsible jurisdiction, you'd have seen the Kenya National Highways Authority sending either tractors or something to go and try and move the water and clog drainage, create outlets. This morning, you'd be seeing the mobilization of machinery, because the Kenya National Highways Authority has machinery. Mobilization of machinery to come and try and clear this backlog. But no, Kenya.
Why?
Why? Why are they
told you
doing
they'll
that?
fix the road.
You wait, we're building the road.
The CS ministry.
This inconvenience that you're seeing today, the sun is coming out, and then in about 2 hours, the water will be gone. Where?
Yes, but it won't be there.
It will not be there. It'll be in people's houses, and then it'll also move.
You know where it is? No, let's just be, because I think sometimes we fail to see, and that's the thing. We can talk about it and say, well, it's a force of nature. That's granted. But then there are opportunities, there are responsibilities on the shoulders of certain people to make sure that even with that force of nature, that the livelihoods of people are protected and secured.
Yeah.
We're not looking at the after effects of some of these things. You can sit here and tell us, okay, fine, it rained for a couple of hours in the morning and it did overnight. But guess what? In the morning, a larger part of your population is going to be out.
Yep.
A larger part of that population is children, like the picture that we saw this morning. So looking at the after effects of this thing is what we should be focusing on. There are children who showed up in school today in wet clothing. There are children who are going to sit through lessons for a better part of the morning wet. The health repercussions of that mean something. There are those who've had to walk through, and not necessarily because they were rained on, but they had to wade through water to get where they are going. Okay, so then look, those are some of the things that we're talking about now. That, you know what, when you say you have something to do and you choose not to do it, it's not about the immediacy of your decision. It's about the mid to long-term effects of your inaction.
Yep. I mean, we all knew the rains were coming, and we could all see the state of the roads and infrastructure. So Kenha and Kura, for just dealing with Nairobi, Kenha and Kura knew. They knew it was going to rain. They knew when it rains, you will need to make sure that there is proper drainage working. They did not sort it out. This is what we are seeing this morning. And we have somebody who has reported to work this morning, from Director General to engineer in charge to whatever, and they are seated somewhere. They have removed their jacket, they've hung it on that thing.
They're warm and toasty in the office.
Yeah, they are waiting for Nani. Ajaleta chai, you know, we have a meeting. I need to go into a meeting. I need to have the tea before I go into the meeting. And that's what they'll be dealing with. Not looking at what can we do to address this.
Now,
immediate response. This is an emergency. We can't talk about anything else. This is an emergency. There are children who have not slept overnight because it started flooding in their house at midnight.
And also remember,
they have been like that awake all night, and they're expected to go to school this morning.
There's something even more ominous. With this comes waterborne diseases.
Yep.
Oh, God.
Yes, and they're not far away. So a situation that leads into something catastrophic, which could have been averted, which could have been foreseen, because there's nothing we're talking about here that can't be planned for, can't be mitigated against. Nothing.
Nothing.
We have people who have the resources to ensure the mitigation takes place. But yet, what do? They tell us stories. Long, tall stories. It's like they visit this planet and this town every once in a while and they don't live here. But in reality, they don't. Because if you have a huge four-wheel drive, this water doesn't really bother you.
Yeah. And you're using the expressway.
It does.
Big car in the sky.
This doesn't really bother you.
You've come from Karen, you got onto the bypass, then you got onto the expressway, and then you've got off at JKIA, you've entered the Kenha offices.
Yeah, if you look at these pictures, they actually shock you. Hey, where did this happen? Where? Hey, really? Are you sure?
I didn't see it.
But anyway, it'll clear. You know, this water just clears very fast.
And these people also like complaining too much.
It clears very
come
fast.
On, surely. It's just rain, water.
I think all we need to do is talk to the contractor to make sure that they speed up the works, so that instead of finishing by June, they can finish by May 28th.
Something like that. Before June.
Yeah, before June. You know?
And before July.
And that person is actually employed to do some work.
That's actually their mandate. It is the job that we taxpayers pay him to do.
You know what? When we were, Nairobi, whittle it down and talk about even just Mombasa Road, right? And there was complaint before the CS now said that, by the way, those weeks are almost finished, Abby. When they said
6 weeks.
6 weeks are almost coming to head, when the work on the Mombasa Road was supposed to start happening.
Construction of extra
footbridges. It will still continue to start.
It's continuing to start, Abby. Okay, fantastic. Now, remember the challenges that everybody who is a pedestrian, right, is facing on Mombasa Road.
Yep.
Footbridge, there's one at the South B here, then there's one at General Motors, and then there's another one at Timaradaima, and then there's another one at Cabanas. Those were completed, isn't it? But then the bus stops were a problem. When the sun is shining and it is dry and you can walk, there was a problem. All right? And they were saying that this is what they were going to work on, leave alone that there were bumps and whatever here and there on the road, and have to do kind of gymnastics to get where you're going and such things. Now add rain. and add the floods.
Imagine.
We were complaining about the situation without the rain. And it was very, very bad for folks who had to do this. Now, add the element
Bring
of
in the
water.
rain.
And we also know that when it is raining, a lot of the construction of these things, can they take place?
Of course. It has paused.
That's paused. Can they take place?
We'll come back when
the Met tells us that the rain is going to stop is when we'll come now and address these issues. So you're left to your own devices, whether you want to swim, whether you want to wade, whether you want to sit at home, how you ever want to do, that's up to you. Immediate interventions to take care of a problem right now. And please let us note that we are not complaining about the rain. We're not complaining about the rain. I'm very, very, very thankful that this is raining.
At least it's raining.
I'm not even going to complain about that. But we are saying that we knew it was going to rain. There are people who were tasked with the responsibility of making sure that with the rain, knowing the things that come with it, you would have been adequately prepared to make sure that your people are able to maneuver through it. And that has not been done. It hasn't been done.
You know, I think one of the things that Kipchumba Murkomen should do, okay, is look at this entirety of agencies that deal with roads. So there's a Kenya Roads Board, which is the mother that receives the money and then also prioritizes road projects across the country, okay? And then there's the Kenha, Kura, Kera. That get the money and they do the project implementation. All those guys, maybe they should just be told, listen, people, just don't come to work next week, eh? Ngojeni tutawaita 1-1. Kila mtu akuje atuonyeshe ile kazi amekuwa akifanya.
No, ile kazi anafanya. Na ile as evidence of kazi anafanya ile ambaye amefanya.
Ile ambaye
moja tu. Yes.
One, come you, it's your day, come show us what is it that you have done. What were you supposed to do? What have you done? All of them, from Kenya Roads Board to the Kenya Urban Roads Authority, the Kenya Rural Roads Authority, the Kenya National Highways Authority. Because you know what happens with all this rain and then all this water sitting on the roads? The next thing is the roads themselves will now need repairs.
Oh, most
and it's
definitely.
because you had not just done proper drainage to get the water off the road surface.
But let me ask you something. This drainage thing, it seems to be an Achilles heel.
It's a difficult thing.
Drainage.
What is it? Why?
It's a cost.
It's a difficult
So we'd rather let's just remove the drainage.
No.
Wait. Let me ask you. Maybe because in my mind I can try to understand what happens. There is a treatment that you give to a project, right? And you say that this road from point A to point B, these are the things that we're going to do. Add a culvert here, put in this, that, the other thing, work on drainage here and there, and work with the other things that would affect this road, isn't it? That's what the contractor, along with the mother agency, look at when they're saying then they commission this road. Abi? So along the line, do you now say, on my way to this money that they gave us, is like it won't reach all of us. So let's just remove the drainage aspects and we'll do the rest. See, wanted a road, there's a road. After all, does it rain 365 days in a year? No, it does not. So we can deal with those things later. Look at that one. Somebody's car wants to fall down inside the water.
Imagine.
So, is it that the drainage issue is now said...
That is a car that's actually stuck.
Yeah.
Because there is a manhole that was not covered. And then it has rained. And the driver of this vehicle is now driving in this pool of water without knowing the situation on the surface. So the tire just goes and enters the manhole. And that's it, stuck.
So my question, what happened? Because look, guys, all of these roads that we're looking at today, the one element here is drainage.
It is.
It is.
It's the only thing we're talking about here.
Yeah.
It's drainage. That's
so is it that you say, how sometimes you look, when you're planning,
was saying it's a cost.
See, no, wait.
Okay.
Now. Okay, it's a cost. I understand. When you're planning something,
you know what I meant by that.
City, wait. When you're planning something, you say, okay, we are starting this program by 9 in the morning. We'll give people tea at 11. We'll give them lunch at 1. Then 4 o'clock, we give them tea again. So it's like drainage is the 4 o'clock tea. Actually, they say we've given them lunch and they're going to go home at 5 anyway. So let us remove it.
I like the way you've simplified it because it actually paints a very good picture. But when you build a road or a highway, it has to be in keeping with a much bigger plan of the development of the country.
Yes.
Much bigger plan. Okay? So before you even get to building it, my friend, okay? Forget the planning. That one we all know. Project development, that one we all know. Then there's the preliminary design, meaning, okay, this is what we want to do. This is the design. Okay? That design goes through a very rigorous process. Other people are brought in. Disciplines are brought in to determine, have we considered this? What about the people? Where is this thing going to go? How is it going to affect this? Are we encroaching on someone's land? All these things are considered. Then there's a final design. By the time you have a final design, it means every consideration, whether it is social, whether it is economic, whether it is engineering, all those things have been considered. You've been told this one can work.
Yep.
Because many such roads are funded.
Yep.
Now, once you have it, before you start, then you ask, who do we have who has the capacity to do this?
Do the road.
Yes. And has a proven track record. So the assumption is by the time someone is being brought to build the road, they have all those things, all the boxes.
They've gone through all, yes.
Now, do you know where the cost and the drainage comes in? In the design, you will find things that will blow your mind. Stormwater, yes, stormwater drainage, stormwater storage, blah, 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 blah. Lights for this and this and this and this. Considerations for heavy rains, everything is considered. Now, why do I say the cost? When you cost it, you mean the money for it is put there.
Yes.
Now, if you remove it, where does the money go? Yes.
Is it the mystery to find where money can go?
Yes, precisely. That's what I'm saying. Because if it's in the design, it means it has been costed.
Yes.
And if it has been costed and it isn't done, where does the money go to?
So money is allocated for it.
It is allocated. It's budgeted. It's there.
Money comes into the pocket so that then you can remove it from the pocket onto the ground.
Yes.
You don't remove it from the pocket.
Yes. And then you work around it. Then you hear stories. There's something called a supplementary budget. And another huge amount of money is allocated for the same thing which had been previously budgeted for. And if you give it time, there'll be yet another allocation for that same thing which had previously been budgeted for.
Oh my God, let's take a break.
Okay.
I can't. I can't.
That's what you want?
I
okay.
Can't.
Okay. So you take a minute mid-break. That's what you need to do.
Yeah.
That is what Minute Maid is all about. When you get to a point and you're feeling, where?
Of saying.
Where?
How?
Take a Minute Maid.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Whatever flavor you choose, whether it's tropical, whether it's mango, whether it's pulpy, orange, whatever. It's time for that break. Back shortly, 28 minutes to 10. We want to hear from you. What's your experience on the roads this morning? Wherever you are, if you're in Nairobi, any of the urban areas or any of the rural areas, what's the experience on the roads this morning as you're going through your morning commute? Whether you were driving or whether you were using what we call public transport, that's matatus. However you got wherever you were going and what you saw, let us know about it. And let's rant. It's just about time we ranted. 27 to 10.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Sleepwalking through the afternoon. Sleepwalking through the afternoon. Sleepwalking through the afternoon.
Don't live life on repeat. Enjoy your break moments with Minute Maid Delight, a treat that awakens your senses and fills you with vitality. So fill those break moments with the indulgent sensations of Minute Maid, featuring delicious mango, tropical and apple flavors. Minute Maid, filled with life.
Yolanda Mulwa, DJ Absolute. When the gang is together,
Got the sugar, got the spice.
Yorada,
yes,
I have missed you like hot hamburgers. Eh?
like hot hamburgers.
You know, bad boys give more money than you can count.
Hey, bad boys give more money than you can count. If it's fun, it's funky, it's fresh, you're definitely going to catch it here. I don't know what you do every day from 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock, but if I were you, I'd tune in to
Sugar and Spice only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
So coming up in Nairobi this morning, we will see through today highs of 25 and lows of 16. Expect thunderstorms later on in the afternoon. All right, into Nakuru, we're looking at cloudy conditions at some point, going to highs of 23 and lows 24 and lows of 15. It's partly sunny at 18 in Nyeri, highs of 25, and we'll see highs of 21 in Eldoret. It's partly sunny at 29 in Mombasa, going to highs of 32. We'll also see highs of 32 in Malindi. It's 22 and sunny in Kisumu, 20 and sunny in Kakamega. Cloudy conditions in Kampala, highs of 24 and lows of 18. And we'll see rain now in Dar es Salaam through today, highs of 29 and lows of 24. It's partly sunny in Johannesburg at 15. With highs of 23, we'll see lows of 13. Mostly cloudy now in Lagos at 24, highs of 33. And we'll see highs of 30 in a cloudy Kinshasa. 12 degrees and mostly cloudy in Beijing. And at 12, rain showers continue in Paris, highs of 16 and lows of 11. 13 will be the high in London, where it's cloudy at 9. Mostly cloudy in New York still. Wednesday night coming into Thursday, we'll see highs of 15 and lows of 8.
This is one of the hottest show that we can ever miss in the morning, and it's a show that really gives a real situation in the Situation Room.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you guys so much. Nduthai, nice meeting you. Even beautiful in person more than in photos.
Say that again. Character is like pregnancy. You cannot hide it. You know, people hiding here and there, you know, but after 2-3 months, 5 months, now you realize, so that is why the attitude that you were showing us, you're pregnant.
It's like what my grandmother would say. You cannot pickpocket a naked man.
How's that? It's communal, isn't it?
No comment. The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
All right, we'll see. It's getting a little bit better as we go through these Nairobi streets this morning. Inbound traffic still continues on the Thika Superhighway. We're looking at a little bit of it still on North Airport Road going out towards Outer Ring, so that continues for a while. Kiambu Road still a bit of a mess, but it's getting better as we're going through the morning. Okay, guys, very, very sad piece of information. 2 school-going children this morning, 6 a.m., swept by raging waters at the Waroko area, and the search is still ongoing for them. And so those waters are still raging. Please be extremely careful. It's a call out to be extremely careful because of this. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, talk through the morning.
Business news with Spice FM.
I'm Dennis Aseto. The local authority's pension trust, Lab Trust, has listed the first income real estate investment trust, IRATE, to be issued by a pension fund at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. The Lab Trust Imara IRATE will list 346,231,413 units at 20 shillings each, placing its value at 6.9 billion shillings. The IRATE, a closed-ended fund, will be listed on the restricted sub-segment of the main investment market segment of the NSE. Safaricom has appointed Fozia Ali as its new Chief Consumer Business Officer. In the role, Ali will be crucial in growing the telco's market share and consumer solutions through product development, digital CVM, terminal strategy and consumer insights. In July 2022, she took over the position in an acting capacity while doubling as mobile data tribe lead. Dyer & Blair Investment Bank has reported technical hitches with its online savings platform. The hitch has affected the Dyer & Blair Edge platform and APP, rendering services unavailable. The Edge app allows investors to invest their monies using an online platform without visiting investment institutions. Dyer & Blair is owned by the billionaire Jim Nambaru. And NCBA Bank is looking for a legal counsel in corporate banking with a bachelor's degree in law with a minimum of 5 to 7 years of experience, legal department of a busy organization, financial institution or law firm. Suitable candidates are required to send their CVs and cover letter by 27th of March 2023. Visit jobs.digger.co.ke for more information on these and other jobs. Digger Jobs, your credible and trusted jobs partner.
Spice FM Business. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Done right. 94.4 Spice FM,
Remember
Nairobi.
When Road was the primary access route into both ends of the carefully laid out by colonialists, no doubt, industrial area as across the entire industrial area. By the way, Kenya railroads, what are those? I think you meant railways, had side lines behind all go downs and even a main line through the industrial area.
They had those two sidings there. Rail
Railroad. You see, it was. You see,
it used to be Kenya Railroad.
No, I'm talking about the construction, the actualization. It's simple. For you to be able to have material to build the railway, you need a road. Okay? So even as the railway was being built, the road was also being built because it's the road that helped facilitate the building of the railway. Simple logic. It's a symbiotic relationship between the road and the railway. Yes. Because even when you're talking about rail transport within towns leading to go-downs and what have you, for the rail transport to get the goods, those goods have to come from somewhere, usually by road. So that connectivity and that connection was always there, and it's symbiotic. Namna hiyo.
We still have a cholera outbreak, by the way, just in case you had forgotten. Okay? And it's been ravaging various parts of Eastern Central Africa and also some bits of Southern Africa. Kenya, not spared. Several counties, not spared. Now we have this kind of water, stagnant water flooding and getting into worse. Can you imagine?
It's going to get much worse. Much worse. And you're talking about a situation where we've had water problems in the past, and you're talking about situations where people don't have enough food. Now, can you imagine just levels of contamination? Just take your mind to what is likely to happen. Just look at the dirt that you see in this water. Think about it proliferating to other sources, your food sources, fresh food sources. Just think.
Oh my God.
Yes,
how many pit latrines have actually been flooded?
Oh
yes.
And then this is seeping into the water system. And we're talking about what?
Yes, and we're talking about water that is brought by Bowsers. And we never know the sources from where they get this water. You just think about it. One thing leading to the other. You know how we ask the question, do they understand the consequences?
It's the consequences.
What they set in motion.
This is the thing.
Okay, here we are.
So here you have this myopic view and answer of, it's just water. Is it not the sun that has come out now? See, the thing has dried.
Yeah, it'll go.
That's the myopic thinking that we're talking about, which really needs to be rid of a lot of these now who bear the responsibility for this. Because it is not the water. It's actually, you know what? Yeah, truth be told, it's an inconvenience for folks who have to do this and get to work. But the consequence of this thing is what we hope people will be looking at. That's what we're asking you to look at.
Imagine.
These things that you've talked about now. What's the source of water for Nairobi? This same water that you see on the road that people are stepping in, walking in, where does it go?
Where does it end up?
Where does it end up? What's the source of water? Again, that is true. It goes into these Bowsers, which people in very many closet towns, closet areas of Nairobi are getting into their system.
So they depend on.
Children are sick. Isn't it last week we were told about people who've been taking their children to hospital for the last 7 months, and the doctor says we actually don't know what is wrong.
What's happening?
There's something systemic happening here. We don't know what's going on. Okay, here we are. We want to add insult to we want to do worse because we're not thinking about the consequences. And that is the thing for most cases. It's not about the thing you see now. It's the thing that's lurking underneath that's going to show its ugly head later. And can you circumvent that? Yes, you can.
You can.
And that's what the cry is for. That you're not there to... you can deal with an issue. Guess what? There's something you can do today. Really. There's something you can do today so that should it rain overnight, as it is most likely to because of the season that we are in, that people do not wake up tomorrow morning to face the issue that they did today. 1. 2. The drainage that we're talking about on a regular basis, every day shouting, we're shouting about it again today. What will you do about it to have that water flow off in a healthy way so that it goes where it actually should go?
Look at how it is when we harness natural resources in the direction for what can be used or what they can be used for our benefit. Water, hydroelectric power. But just fundamentally, water sustains life. Our bodies, 75% of our body is what? Water. Now, you tell me, you look at wind power. Okay? Now, imagine a cyclone, something that has the power to destroy and completely obliterate whole habitations. What am I saying? Part of the reasons why some of these things are as terrible as they are is because we've interfered again with the earth. Meaning, what is it that restrains water from creating havoc? Usually it's trees, plantations, things that are there. What is it? It helps reduce water erosion. Look at the process that we keep talking about, that people are talking sustainable this, sustainable that. Sustainable because what was naturally there and what worked was already eroded. So you're now having to rejig it and refix it when you could easily have avoided that situation by simply not messing it up in the first place.
Yeah.
These roads that we have are wonderful things. And they open up all manner of economic activities. They make things that were previously very impossible, possible and beautiful and wonderful. However, when you then throw in what has become commonplace in our country, where someone is in a position of public influence and has been given the mandate to oversight and superintend public resources, and they become the chief plunderer or they become the chief plunderers. You see, remember we have this law in this country. If someone is accused and is found guilty of violence, robbery with violence, you die. That's the law.
Yeah.
But this is worse because it is robbery. It's not only violently being taken, but it's over such a large number of people, it becomes a crime against humanity. So what do we do with such people?
What do you do with people who...
It's a mass crime. It's a crime of mass
What
proportions.
do we do with such people? Because the problems that we're talking about and which we foresee are because money that we gave and entrusted to have these services provided for were not used in the manner that they were supposed to be. It went elsewhere other than where they were supposed to go. Yes. So, what do we do with such people?
Let's hear from you, 0719-012-600. So we've seen all these, images. We got here early, and by the time we were coming to work, we could see the kind of situation that was there on the road. And we're seeing the images. We have been told by our colleagues who have also come to work, roads in very many parts of Nairobi, in also parts of Mombasa, when it rains, flooded. What is it that this is all about? It's a proper opportunity to rant. There are people who should have prepared for this. There are people who should have made sure that the drainages are cleared. There are people who should have made sure that there is actually a drainage. The entire segment from the airport, from Machakos Junction to Rironi, that's the whole thing is still a construction site.
Yep.
No drainages done. No drainages. So people are just having to suffer. So you've gotten up in the morning and you're going to work, and this is what you have to do. You have to cross from one section of the road to the other. You're trying to board a matatu. Matatu can't stop where you usually board the matatu because that part is flooded. You then have to pay a boda to at least help you cross a road, and even the boda cannot cross the road because the water is so high. It's just... Becky says, what were we told? We were told that they don't have money, and if you can beat them on their whatever, but there is money for vehicles and new offices. Yeah. Kipchumba Murkomen was in the Senate the other day, and he said they've actually allocated, is it 3.5 billion shillings for
Eric, you really have to forgive me
for this road.
You really have to forgive me here because
you're forgiven in advance.
Thank you. Because
why?
It is heart-wrenching and it is depressing when everything that you require, we need, we talk about, which requires fixing, we're being told money has been allocated. For heaven's sake. Can't we hear stories of this money that has been allocated actually doing what it's supposed to do?
Yeah.
I mean, surely.
You seem a little vexed, CT.
No, I am peeved.
Okay, I have a question. Just, when you say money has been allocated, so what? What does that mean?
It's always that. It's always being allocated. Okay, we've got it. Don't tell us it has been allocated. Just tell us this is what is being done. We will know that money was allocated. That's why it's being done.
Mm-hmm.
So, Eric, when this money has been allocated, so what? What next?
See, the next thing is now to Nini. Like that. Once you allocate, you now Nini.
Okay.
So this was a story that was published by... We're not boycotting the Star, are we?
No.
It was published on the Star.
Wow.
Nope.
On the 4th of March. And the story says, the repair of Mombasa Road damages to cost 3.5 billion shillings. CS Murkomen. It'll cost 3.5 billion to repair the Mombasa Road damages during the expressway construction. Transport CS Kipchumba Murkomen on Friday told the Senate that the contractor is expected to start the work soon. It became practical, and we asked ourselves if that initial 9 billion shillings was going to be very elaborate with certain beautification. We worked with a budget of 3.5 billion to bring back the road to certain standards and a good drainage so that later we can add these other additional issues. So the first thing that Kipchumba is saying, priority number one, wacha weka maua, blah, 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 blah. Can we just do the main basic things? Drainage, 3.5 billion shillings. He noted that the repairs will see a drastic change in terms of inconvenience along the ever-busy Mombasa Road. Revealing more details, he said that the repair would take at least 7 hours to reduce any inconvenience along the road.
Huh?
Repairs would take at least 7 hours.
7 hours? Are you sure? 3.5 billion shillings.
7 hours, or
7 hours to do
7 weeks.
Well, actually,
as in the morning and evening, you'll be ready.
It isn't far-fetched.
Hey, what?
It isn't far-fetched.
We have already moved all the utility lines like water, sewage and electricity, and in doing that, the road was damaged, so we have to bear the costs of repairs.
You know, Eric, what the minister is saying, one understands fully. But remember that elaborate plan process that I mentioned in summary. It takes care of that as well. Yes, it's part of the plan.
Yes,
it's what will be disrupted.
Yep.
If it is a sewer line, if it is a water line, whatever, all that is known, and it is costed. Money is budgeted for. It is set aside. If the road, there's an upheaval somewhere, and more to the point, there are new things that are required for building, and sometimes it means it's being built alongside something which existed. Everything in such a design, all those things are taken care of, costed for, money put aside.
Yep.
So why are we putting money aside again for what money had been put aside for in the first place?
I think what he's saying is that the money that had been put aside was 9B. Now we are looking at it and saying, can we really afford 9B? Can we start by doing at least a 3.5B?
I'm not even asking that question.
And if we can do 3.5B, see, we just start with a 3.5B.
Why are we being it anyway? It had been B'd before.
Why is the initial B?
Yes. God knows what. Was it 27 billion?
The first 9B.
No. The original one.
That was for the expressway.
Yes, which was $1 billion shilling per kilometer. What was it again?
That was coming to 88B.
That
Precisely.
was the expressway. Now we're talking about after they finished doing the thing.
When they were doing the expressway, like City is asking, they must have costed and known, that's why they said. So China Road and Bridge and whatever,
construction and
we're
water
going
company,
to do the road up there. Okay? The government's commitment was the things that we need to do down here to move, all these utilities, the power, the sewer, the blah. We, the government, are going to put money into repairing it. You're putting money into building your thing up there. We'll put money down here to repair it. Why was it?
That arrangement is even faulty. You are building that road on top of another road, okay, which already exists and is functioning, okay? And in building that road on top of the road, what you're going to do, you're going to disrupt this at the road. There's no question about it.
Yep.
You are telling me that wasn't factored in the design. For heaven's sake. What sort of people do we have accepting? I mean, forget the design flaw, if ever there was one. Okay, the thinking flaw. This thing is completely messed up. You agree someone is going to mess up with something which this road was good. It was working.
And then this construction was going to come and mess it up.
Yes, and you didn't budget for the mess up and how to rectify it.
It must have been budgeted for. It must have been factored in. In fact, the whole issue is why CS Macharia had to come later and say, okay, we're going to put in the 9 billion shillings for the repairs. Why? Should have been part of, okay, so how much is it going to cost you to do this road? 9 billion shillings. Can you lend us an extra 80 billion shillings? Can you lend us an extra 9 billion shillings so that you repair this road?
You are doing
we will
this
repay,
work.
by the time you finish your 27 years concession for this road, we'll also repay you that loan. Why do you have to say, okay, now you do your 88 billion, we're going to pay you for 27 years. Then in the next financial year's budget, we are going to look for taxpayers' money to put.
And
Why?
we are there anyway.
This piecemeal planning.
What kiongos is that?
Wow.
No. That's what my thinking is. This entire process is a crime scene.
It was eaten.
Yes.
That is it.
No, it's a crime scene because where's the logic? I mean,
I
for
agree
heaven's
with
sake.
you. I agree with you. If they did not think that far, then they should be penalized for not thinking that far because we pay them to think
that far.
Yes. Have you received a salary since this project was conceived? Yes, you have.
You owe us money.
Okay, you owe us money. You owe us money. That's it. You owe us money and you owe us compensation for the inconvenience.
And you will, first of all, start by apologizing.
All these people who have been inconvenienced over the time, all those people who kunywa dust, the people now who are wading through water.
The children who fell sick because of the proliferation of that dust.
Waroko area this morning, 2 children going to school have been swept away by floods. The search is ongoing right now because they stepped into the water not knowing how deep it was. The raging waters have taken them away. Today, as we speak, 9:55, the 2 children are being searched for. Waroko. Waroko is here.
Just up here. Oh no. Oh no.
This is what we're talking about. Today. This morning.
And someone's going to come and talk about compensating. How do you compensate for life? A problem that didn't need to arise. It did not need to arise at all. It didn't. And believe me,
the kind of rain we've had overnight was not should not be the rain that does this kind of thing.
No, but if you have a drainage problem that is so bad that has not been taken care of, a few inches of rain is going to create that problem.
Now, can you imagine?
It's going to create that problem.
We
shouldn't
be having
and wash
this.
things away.
It's just 6 hours of rain.
Believe me, if all the water passages were...
Look at what was happening just outside schools and apartments. This is it.
This is near Oshawa.
This is near Oshawa. This is a drainage issue.
In Parklands.
Yes.
They don't have a swimming pool. This is a drainage issue.
So basically, there's a river nearby. It stopped, and this is what has happened.
Precisely. And the stormwater drainage passageway.
Now, all you have to do is take such a situation and now take it to the Waroko area when there's no building to stop any kind of movement like this, and it's just open areas. It's going
and it's
very
gathered,
easy to
and it's
take
gathered
children.
momentum as it moves along.
As it moves.
So what do you think happens?
What do you think will happen?
What?
So when we talk about the consequences, those are the consequences that we're talking about.
Can
And
you
you're going to
imagine
sit here and you say, well, it's just a couple of hours. It's going to dry up by 11 o'clock. We'll be fine. No.
Can you imagine if it actually rained like an El Nino?
If it rained properly.
If we had an El Nino today.
You wouldn't have come to work.
We'd be talking about buildings collapsing. We'd be talking about people who've been swept away. The pictures that we've seen where was that? Was that Madare? Was that Korogosho? The pictures and also the pictures that Robert Alai is sharing.
It's Kileleshwa here.
That's in Kileleshwa.
Yeah.
In which slum is that?
Deep. Is it Deep Sea?
Deep Sea is in Westlands.
Then the less
if
Deep Sea.
You see the amount of water that's entered into people's homes. If we had more, if the rain was still going on now, we'll be talking about water having topped up
the buildings.
The buildings. That means people gone.
Actually, those habitations would have gone.
Yeah.
And with them, people.
Just.
Yep. We'll find it in a minute.
Yeah. It's really, 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 really sad. And anyway, what we demand is that the people who are supposed to do their something. Okay? And this is not even coming at you. We start from those agencies at national level and the county government. Response to this. You cannot just say that you cannot respond to this if it was not in other areas. We need to be having a disaster response mechanism that addresses what's happening this morning.
We do have a department that deals with this sort of thing. Is it not so?
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
What are they doing this morning?
Yes.
Well, thank you for watching and tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room today. We'll be back tomorrow, Friday, God willing. From now until 11, it's some music and then sugar and spice and everything nice. Yolanda and DJ Absolute from 11. Later, Quatch with Spice Drive. Good morning. It's 10 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Hour on Vibes Radio.